How much can love be valued? The woman's son acted immaturely, and she is also upset because she has done so much for her. Day and night, she was her hands and feet when she searched for medicinal herbs. Thanks to this certificate, she will be able to earn tens of thousands of helium. She thinks that this is enough, but she can say if she is not happy with something. The girl believed that this was her place, and she believed that she was needed here. But these people, like her family, did not allow her to live in peace. In the end, this place was not for her either. The woman said that she would then ask her to leave the Duke's residence for Cassius. The girl noted that there was no need to worry because she understood everything. Her lover is powerless to help her, so she feels she can't ask him to turn away from his family for her. She didn't even know if she could truly love him now, knowing the whole truth. Will they be happy if he leaves his family and runs away with her? If he leaves everything familiar and starts living with her, then she is unsure whether she will believe him if he says that he is happy. The girl agreed, otherwise she would have had big troubles because of her son. The Duchess was sorry, but there was nothing she could do. The girl said she would leave before morning. She also thanked me for everything and then left. A year ago at Baron Lasserre's, the lady turned to Euphemia and said that it was time to talk about the wedding. I asked her if she had heard about the second son of Viscount Marion. The girl confirmed it. The lady thinks that he is definitely suitable for her husband. The girl heard that he was a cruel libertine. The Viscount's second son missed the opportunity to marry and said that he was thinking of choosing a bride for himself. It turns out that his fiancé is our main character, but the girl is not ready for this yet, so she said she would think about it. The woman still understood her concerns, but she hoped that the girl was aware of the choice she would ultimately have to make. The woman asked her not to disappoint her because she was a smart girl. The girl said that she heard her. In this way, the woman clearly made it clear to her that she had no choice. It was already so late that the woman decided to go out and asked her to get a good night's sleep and prepare for Cecilia's tea party tomorrow. When she came out, the corridor was pitch dark. She couldn't believe that her destiny was to be sold for money against her will. If only her mother were alive, everything would be different. Her mother talked to her about the constellation and the stars and also about the legends about them. After that, I put her to bed and wanted her to sing sweetly and powerfully. When the mother played with her, she was shocked that her daughter was already so interested in medicinal herbs. Mom told Euphemia that it was impossible and hoped that her daughter understood her. The Durandal family flows in it. These were the mother's last words, and after that there was a funeral. Her mother told her that she had to keep it a secret from everyone. The girl's fire went out, and right in front of her a strange little fire animal appeared. He returned the light to her. Therefore, the lady was very grateful to him. In the morning, the lady was greeted by a maid. Euphemia said that they would have guests today, so they needed to clean up thoroughly. The railings are not shiny enough, so they need to be waxed more thoroughly. The lady also asked to replace the flowers in the vase, so the maid asked what flowers she would like. Euphemia said that she would bring them herself after dinner, so she asked to bring them to the map. After that, the lady said goodbye and left. The maids have long been curious about why the eldest mistress is in charge of all household affairs. They believed that her duty as a noble lady was simply to dress beautifully and have fun. The other maid was surprised that she still didn't know. Madame Euphemia is the daughter of Madame Rosetta, who lived before Madame Belinda. Her mother died young, and soon after the Baron remarried, Madame Belinda and the family was reborn. However, Cecilia, whom Madame Belinda brought with her after her marriage, was very similar to Baron Lasserre. After that, everyone started whispering, "It seems that Madame Belinda is oppressing the child of the Baron's ex-wife." Another maid shouted at her to be quiet. The head maid asked them to stop dragging out noble matters, as they were acting as if they wanted trouble. They are just curious, otherwise they don't understand why Mrs. Euphemia is in charge of all the housework. The woman noted that it didn't concern them. Apparently, she liked it. Madame Euphemia does everything at Madame Cecilia's request, and Madame Belinda says that she is completely satisfied with her life. Today, everyone is busy because of Miss Cecilia's tea party, and it is clear that Miss Euphemia is preparing everything. All they need to do is do as they are told anyway. Obediently following the orders and requests of some requires living quietly and unnoticed. Maids should behave like maids. The mistress told the coachman that she would be back soon, so she asked him to wait. She noticed something was wrong with her hair, and then realized it was them, so she asked if they had slept well. There are guests planned today, so she needs some cute flowers. But they are precious, so she is not sure if she can take them. The fairies were sure of this, so the lady thanked them. She also asked them to show her the faces of today's guests. It was a great idea because these flowers would be the perfect gift for them. Today they helped again. It would be nice for her to hear their voices. As a child, she could listen to spirits, but recently she hasn't been able to do so, and it upsets her very much. Her mother told her that among the people of Durandal, only special people are able to see spirits and communicate with nature, the spirit of light. The saint of flowers, water, wind. Her pink eyes prove it. Euphemia is Durandal's child, but she mustn't tell anyone about it. Suddenly the lady heard a strange sound. It was a titmouse. But she was shocked because she had never seen such birds in such a place. It was a baby, and she felt very sorry for him. She couldn't leave him here, otherwise he would be eaten, because these are the laws of nature. However, with him she feels like she is not alone in this beautiful forest. Therefore the lady promised to help this little one, let this titmouse grow up in his family hearth, and then flap his wings and leave his father's house. Euphemia returned and asked them to place the flowers in water so they wouldn't dry out. The maid, of course, immediately fulfilled her request. What the treats and flowers! Everything is ready, and it's time to go to the living room for tea. Suddenly her sister called her and asked what had happened and why she wasn't ready yet. She had told her 100 times that she needed to be more careful with this, they would soon have guests. Mother asked Cecilia to be calm because her sister would do everything. Still, the girl realized that her sister still had time. Euphemia thought that she would be fine here since they were her family. It was her duty as an older sister to take care of them, so she endured everything. Cecilia turned to her sister and said that this tea party was an important chance for her reputation, so she asked again if there were any problems with the preparations. Euphemia tried her best to be a part of the family, but she didn't deserve all of this, so she said that since she was so worried, she should do it herself. Cecilia screamed and asked her sister what kind of nonsense this was. The woman turned to Euphemia and said that she was good at it, so she asked her to help the youngest. The lady thought she would be a nuisance, and so did Cecilia. They shouted at her. The girl didn't even know if it was worth enduring. The lady turned to her and said that unless she wanted to do it herself, Euphemia asked with a smile if she would wait a little. Cecilia didn't understand at all why she was behaving like this, because preparing for tea was her job. Euphemia is the eldest, and she must always do as Cecilia wants. So the girl told her sister that she would of course wait. She decided to be patient for a little while, but she had to wait until the tea party was over. She wouldn't leave it like that. It's simply amazing that the living room resembles a flower garden. The guests said that Miss Cecilia had wonderful taste, and even her soul warmed from such beauty. The other lady remarked that it was all because she was a girl in her prime. This flower was the princess's peony, and the lady had heard that it was very precious and could not be grown in the garden. These flowers are very similar to her hair color. It was like that with every lady. The education and dignity of a person can be determined by the skill of preparing tea by every detail of the decor. This is worthy of praise. She's only 18 after all, and she's already looking forward to the future. Cecilia said it was nothing, she was glad they liked it. Gentlemen, the immodest part, told her meanwhile the maid was already pouring tea. The lady guest noted that this was not just any tea. Cecilia, frightened, asked again what she meant. The girl already thought that her sister had done something with the tea. The lady noted that she was shocked by her signature recipes that were created for them. I've never tried anything like this in my life. Usually if you add other ingredients to tea, the taste gets spoiled, but this time everything turned out great. It was just a wonderful tea, so the ladies began to ask the mistress to share it because they were always suffering from migraines, but this part seemed to cure them. Cecilia said that of course she could give them as much of it as they wanted, and was very glad that it was to their taste. They scared her because she already thought that her sister had done something wrong and didn't want it, that it really was some kind of wonderful tea. Suddenly the lady was asked what this tea was made of, and the lady hesitated and did not know what to answer. She didn't even know how she could know its composition. Her older sister came into the room and said that it was made from cornflower and rose petals. Lavender and orange zest make it more aromatic and delicate. The lady asked if they liked her. The guests assumed that she was Miss Euphemia. The children began to think that perhaps it was she who had prepared such amazing tea. Euphemia swept that she was pleased to meet him and would be glad to give him to them as a gift. Cecilia was very angry because she thought she was the main character here. So the girl stood up and was surprised that she had brought gifts to the guests in advance. She said that they would give them later, so there was no need to worry. The sister asked again, and Cecilia said again that everything would be fine, and it was time for them to leave it. The ladies told her that everything was fine, and they don't mind Miss Euphemia's company. The other ladies also suggested that she sit down. Euphemia was very grateful, but noted that today was her younger sister's tea party. Well, the ladies thought that there was nothing wrong with that since she was her older sister. The more people, the better. Even Cecilia noted that it was a great idea. The father yelled at his eldest daughter and asked her what she was thinking when she humiliated his Cecilia. Euphemia said that she was only fulfilling her request to prepare tea. Father shouted that it was because of her that Cecilia was considered pitiful. The girl said that everything was not so, and in her head she noted that she really was agile. The father did not understand what kind of attitude this was and noticed that she was mocking him. Euphemia felt sorry, but let her not worry in vain because everyone she has too many worries because of her resemblance to her father. The man was simply furious and asked what she was talking about and shouted that she was crazy. Euphemia was shocked that she was the one who was crazy, and that's why her father hit her again. The woman screamed at him not to do it, but the man screamed that it was useless. He doesn't understand when she will come to her senses, and his stepmother asked him to stop. It's time to admit that no matter how much she sacrifices herself, there is clearly no haven of peace here, with which her family recognizes her worth. Her cheek hurt a lot because there was a bruise there. The girl decided that she had had enough and she had done enough, so she thought about where she could go. The air is still cold, but spring is coming and it will be a great season for rebirth. She found an advertisement in the newspaper that they were looking for a nurse in the Duchy of Feridith. A few days later, the gentleman remarked that this was indeed a very unsightly countryside. It is a small fiefdom, and there are probably many nobles on the islands who do not know of the existence of Baron Lasser. The gentleman asked if he thought it was worth going there. It was just a request from the lady, who knows but does not understand what it is, because until now there has not been a single nurse who meets the conditions put forward by his mother. The gentleman noted that the conditions were indeed not simple. The one who met the conditions would be hired as a nurse and Duchess Feridith. It is necessary to do the work of a maid well as manage other maids. You need to be smart and know how to carefully serve people. Also, help the attending physician in preparing medicines, determine by smell or taste whether products are poisonous, and should be elegant, gentle, kind, and patient. It is necessary to have a calm character as well as noble origin. The last condition is the most problematic. It was Miss Euphemia Lasser. She is the daughter of a baron, so she exactly meets Madame's last condition, and also copes well with medicinal herbs, and the attending physician, Mr. Anderson Gold, gave a high rating to her recipe more quenching. The gentleman noticed that she was almost perfect and turned to Vincent. The man asked again. The gentleman asked if he thought the daughter of a country baron would willingly reveal her true nature to the son of a duke. It would be difficult, and he believed she would do everything possible to please him. Obviously, a person must know how to win the favor of another, and he thinks that they will arrive soon. The lady did not understand at all why they were visiting their estate at all. It was unclear. Father also did not understand and did not even know what the point was in sending a man directly from the duchy. Moreover, the family of Duke Feridith is the best in the empire, and it is said that the head of the family has a close relationship with the emperor himself. There are rumors that the duke's family is thinking about marrying their son. The woman was delighted and turned to her husband and remarked that perhaps Cecilia would have a chance. A man from the duchy arrived. The gentleman came out without noticing that he was from the duchy and was glad to meet you. His name is Sirius Delmar, and he is the duke's assistant. The gentleman noted that he had come a very long way, but the assistant said that it was nothing and he was grateful for their hospitality. People invited him to come in. Cecilia thought that even the duke's snow help was handsome, and perhaps he was here to look for a potential bride. Although the mansion is small, its walls and decoration are clean and tidy, and the garden harmonizes well with the bright flowers around. The atmosphere itself and the first impression of the house are not bad, but we are talking about the baron's daughter and his wife, and he couldn't win that we were talking about that lady in the bright dress, and she was that very candidate for the position of nurse. She didn't look like what he imagined, so he said that he came here to meet Miss Euphemia Lasser. The father was very surprised when he heard about this and asked again. He did not understand why he needed this girl. He believed that this girl was Miss Euphemia, but the gentleman denied it and said that it was his daughter, Cecilia. The girl did not understand at all why they needed her sister and not her. The gentleman asked where Miss Euphemia was because he had heard that she was also a baron. The gentleman didn't even know how to answer him, and he thought that the gentleman was here to look for a daughter-in-law. The lady asked if she could ask why he was looking for Miss Euphemia. The man said that he would answer her question after she arrived. If she was absent, he would return later. Well, the girl said that she was here, which made the gentleman turn back. The girl said that her name was Euphemia Lasser. The gentleman was in complete shock when he saw her. But then he thought that he was lost somehow, so he tried to come to his senses. He remarked that he was pleased to meet her and introduced himself as the envoy of the Duchy of Feridith. As far as he understood, it was she who had applied for the position of nurse to the Duchess. The lady noted that everything was correct. The stepmother was in complete shock and asked again what was being discussed. Father noted that she was a noblewoman and did not understand what kind of nurse she was. Before hiring her, he would like to ask her a few questions related to her approximate duties, and if circumstances allowed, she would take her to the Duchy. Euphemia didn't mind and thanked him and asked that he first prove that he really was an envoy from the Duchy. The father noticed that she was very rude to the guest, and she was also a nurse. The wife told him to calm down. She understood his anxiety. She should not be so rude. Sirius told the gentleman to calm down because he was in dialogue with Lady Euphemia. His father considered him a scoundrel and did not understand how he dared. If he had not been from the Duke's family, everything would have been different. The man told Cecilia and Owain to go back to their rooms. Cecilia tried to say something, but the master ordered her to do as he said. The lady asked for forgiveness for her daughter's behavior, but the gentleman said that everything was fine and the lady was right. He should have done it right away, so he asks to be excused. The gentleman presented a certificate issued by the Duke's family. Judging by the kind expressions on the spirits' faces, the testimony is genuine. The lady thanked him and remarked that she believed he was not lying. The gentleman turned to her and noticed that it was her turn to check him and asked if he could ask her a few questions. Euphemia noted that he could do as he wished. So Sirius asked her what she would do after the Duchess woke up in the morning. Euphemia would wait by the door and then help her out of bed. Then he would wait until she had finished tidying herself up. The gentleman asked what medicine should be used for heavy breathing. Depending on the symptoms, if there is shortness of breath, you should take a sedative. If breathing is slow, you should use something that improves blood circulation. When using medications and following a diet, you must inform the chef about all ingredients that cannot be taken together with the medication, and before eating, everything must be checked to avoid side effects. The gentleman was surprised because her answers were really perfect, so he asked her to leave her details here and sign this promise to fulfill her duties as a nurse and duchess. Since she is a daughter who knows the ropes, she will be treated politely and given a generous reward. The salary can be discussed separately later. The lord agreed. Almost everything soon she would be able to leave here, and it was interesting how his duchy and how new and beautiful it was. There he was in front of her. The lady could not believe that the servants of the duchy were so magnificent. Euphemia reported that she had signed. The gentleman told her that there was a carriage waiting outside and that the matter was urgent, so she had to leave today if she didn't mind. Euphemia said that everything was fine, but she needed to pack her things. The father demanded that she explain how it happened. The stepmother did not understand what else was behind the Duchess's nurse and was simply in shock. Euphemia said that they heard everything back and she applied right after she saw the ad in the newspaper, and honestly, she didn't even know if it would work out, so she didn't tell them. Her father said he was fed up with her tyranny. Euphemia said she only wanted to help the family. Father was shocked and asked again. The lady said that she thought it would be better to contact the duchy than to marry the second son of Viscount Marion, and as they had already heard the monetary reward that the envoy had mentioned would also help the family, they couldn't get rid of her because of extra eyes and use her in the marriage business, although maybe it would be better not to do so. What would be more profitable? to send her to the Viscount and add a gift to the one devoted to Cecilia's marriage, or to receive a reward and build a relationship with Faraday's family. The father said that he would take care of the monetary reward and remarked that from everything he had heard, it seemed like a good place to take the place of a nurse. Euphemia thanked her father for permission. She was glad because he wouldn't have to worry about her anymore. Her father asked her to serve the Duchess sincerely so as not to tarnish the family's honor, and said that she had to talk to the guest again and pack her things with her mother. The stepmother said that there would be problems if she left, so the lady asked what she was talking about. The stepmother did not know who would manage the maids because she was not interested in such things. Euphemia told her not to worry because they were doing well and had a butler, so she would only need to hire a head maid. The woman agreed that she was right. If there was a reward from the Duke's house, there would be no problem. It was not about finding a bride, but Cecilia was upset, so she had better console her. The girl said that if they needed someone's opinion, they could ask the twins. The lady understood and asked if that was all and was shocked because she had nothing more to say. She still had to send her away. She didn't understand how she wasn't ashamed to make the Duchess wait. Euphemia was lonely all the time, even though there were people around. She didn't close her eyes until 11 p.m. This house was not her nest, and when she left here, the spirits would follow her. The deed was done. She had no regrets, so she said she had already left. Now she was heading to where she was needed. The father remarked that he thought it would be difficult to let his daughter go like that. Sirius decided to find out what the problem was. Actually, she's getting ready to get married, so they've already received the ransom for her, and he spent all the money on wedding preparations. And now we're talking about some nurse. He'll be in trouble if he doesn't return all the money. It's not that easy to let Euphemia go until everything is resolved. The gentleman noted that he was talking about ransom, not dowry. Ransom is a custom of hard-working commoners. When a young working girl is married off the cost of the lost labor is compensated by the bride price, nobles often send dowries so that their brides can live in abundance. A ransom for a noblewoman is such a disgrace, but the gentleman said he understood what was he talking about. The money they provide will be enough to pay back the ransom. The father said that he was just worried because the sum was quite large. Sirius would like to know how much it is, and the gentleman without hesitation said that it is 2,000. The guy thought that this amount was about half a year's income for him, and he intended to ask for a higher amount and then reduce it. Sirius told him not to worry, because if that was the whole amount, he thought they could help. The gentleman was surprised that they helped him so immediately. However, he has to tell him something unpleasant. According to the contract, the terms of the reward come into effect upon arrival at the Duke's residence. In addition, the money will be paid directly to Miss Euphemia. The gentleman was shocked because he is her father and she hasn't even signed the contract yet because she can give it away here too. Probably. But first, the expenses. If something happens to the lady on the road, he doesn't even know what a big loss it will be for them. This is the family policy, so he asks the gentleman to understand him. It's true, it's unpleasant, but if she suddenly changes her mind, there's no way out. He won't succeed now, but at least he'll ask her to send the money immediately after receiving it. And if the plan fails, then he as a father can confiscate her bank account because he has the right to do so. Her father asked her if she was ready and also where her mother was. Euphemia said that she had gone to visit Cecilia. The father apologized and said that he needed to give his daughter some advice. Sirius told him to speak right there, because they might miss the train to the island if they didn't hurry. Her father asked her to come closer. He said that he had chatted with the assistant while she was getting ready, and he said that the reward would not be issued until after her arrival, and so he asked her to send him the money immediately upon receipt. At that moment he looked at her intently as if exposing her soul. Suddenly people will find out how unhappy she is and how her heart is broken by loneliness and sadness. She is afraid that all this will be exposed, so she told her father not to worry about it because she will do as he said. The father first smiled and told her to believe him. The gentleman told her that it was time for them to go and asked for her bag. Sirius repeated once again that there was little time, so it was time for them to go. He even pulled the lady by the hand. When they were already riding in the carriage, the guy did not understand how he dared to grab her hand and lead her away, but if the Baron had been less disgusting, he would not have allowed this. The lady turned to him and said that she knew there was no time, but she wanted to stop by somewhere before leaving. The lady really wanted to go to the cemetery where Rosetta Lasserre is buried. He wondered why she felt like a stranger in that house. A woman by her last name was not buried in the Baron's family cemetery. A father who commits scams with his daughter and an indifferent stepmother is a common thing. The gentleman turned to her and asked if she was really going to send a reward to the defense. Euphemia noted that it was easier said than done, and added that all fleeting words disappear without a trace. Her mother said the same thing before she died, that everything would work out. Sirius took this to mean that she would not keep her word. The lady remarked that she thought he knew how useless empty words were, and that was why he had asked her to sign the document in the first place. Documents and signatures bind people with great power, and this is indeed true. So she quickly grabbed the pen, but finding a suitable nurse is not an easy task, because not every family will back down so easily. The lady said that in any case this and a lie are different things. But is that really all? Sirius remarked that he had no intention of criticizing her, and the lady remarked that she would like to receive a promissory note related to the care of the sick person. Mr. Antivirus, that noble individual, wants a bill. The line will expire in a year, and she thinks it would be a good idea to include a clause that it can be postponed, and since she's not crazy, he can set the deadline at his discretion. But she wants to receive the bill directly, without an intermediary or a bank, so she asks him to make sure that all processes are controlled by the Duke, so that the father cannot arbitrarily take the reward. The lady noted that the documents also had to have legal force, and she hoped that this was possible. The gentleman noted that this was certainly true, but he was a little surprised at her fastidiousness in banking matters. The lady said that she had finished so they could go. Her family and support, who were no longer there, remained here, and she was leaving, and she would not return. So she asked her mother not to even wait for her anymore. His face says, "What is he staring at, you impudent fellow?" His assistant's face asks for forgiveness. It is clear from his look and behavior that he is the master, but she does not understand why this is so. The previous day, a cafe in the market. The man thought about how his master seemed to be late. After this, the gentleman came out and addressed him, which made him immediately ask again. The gentleman said that he was Sirius, the envoy of the Faraday family and his superior. He still pretended to be an assistant. The servant said that he understood him and asked if there were any other conditions for the lady. The gentleman said that she would be a nurse. But he didn't understand why he was doing this then. "Sir, we just needed to check something else." In any case, she will find out everything after arriving at the resident's Western business that she leads the city. Sirius decided to add that they were almost there, and tomorrow they would leave Marsala for the island. From here to Lasser's estate it was only a day and a half's ride by carriage, but it was like another world. They arrived at the hotel and were greeted. Sirius helped the lady and offered her hand. The lady is not used to and such. Well, as the gentleman I reported that he would register them and return. The Duke reflected that in every corner of the country they tried to spruce up the hotels, but it still didn't compare to the islands. She seems curious to see how she can make such an innocent face. He said that he had reserved a room for Ms. Euphemia and Mr. Sirius. Great, now Vincent needs to go to the train station again and check for trains to the island and then some other things. But the lady didn't hear it anymore. If you look closely, the gentleman looks more mature, and she thought that he was older than Sirius, his boss. Or it could be his amazing abilities. The lady doesn't understand why she is curious about this at all, because it doesn't concern her. Suddenly Sirius turned to the lady and she, surprised, asked again, "Yes, the gentleman just wanted to know where she wanted to have dinner." The lady was surprised and asked again. Sirius told her that there was a good restaurant nearby. The girl didn't know what to answer, like okay, that she had to refuse. But who knows, perhaps the assistant seems useful to her in the Duchy, so it would be necessary to get to know him better, which is why the lady agreed. It was an honor for him, so he smiled at the gentleman and offered her his hand. This man has been surrounded by warmth all his life, and she thinks he has never faced rejection. But she doesn't understand why he shines so much just because of a simple agreement. He is simply an amazing person. In the restaurant, the lady was happy because the spirits were everywhere with her. Sirius asked the lady how she learned pharmacy. Euphemia said that she did it on her own. The gentleman thought it was simply delightful. The Duchess's physician was impressed with her recipe, and he believed that she had been taught by a doctor. The lady didn't want to think about the fact that she might have problems because of this, because she understood that there was no way back. It is true that she was not trained by a doctor, but he need not worry, because she will receive instruction from the family doctor. The gentleman thought for a moment and noted that, to tell the truth, it didn't matter at all. Is it possible? What is she capable of herself? And this surprised the lady very much. She even asked again. Sirius only added that they needed her, and after that they drank wine together. The Duchess is very surprising, and demanding her mood began to change frequently after her health deteriorated. She may get into trouble even if she fulfills all her whims. Euphemia said that she was ready for this, but the master thought it was easy to say. The girl was sure that she would endure it, so the gentleman was glad to hear it. A woman who is used to enduring and hiding everything, but she does not understand why she is interested in something that can be hidden. The gentleman was shocked that she was not afraid to leave the estate and go to a new place alone. The lady said that she was not afraid. After that, they had already finished, so they decided to leave. Sirius was glad that she liked everything and noted that it was time for them to go to the hotel. The service staff was very grateful. The gentleman noticed that Miss Euphemia was not there. The lady was in the fresh air. She felt as if she was floating in the air. The gentleman turned to the lady and noted that she seemed drunk. Euphemia immediately said that this was not so, and considered it such a shame because she was drunk on wine. The lady said she was fine, but she caught on a rock and started to fall. Well, when she opened her eyes, you saw that the gentleman had managed to catch her. She apologized and said that it was all her dizziness, and she was very embarrassed because they were too close. The lady was completely red with embarrassment. The gentleman was also confused. Gazprom didn't understand what this was all about, so she asked the gentleman to let her go. Sirius noted that she would not be able to find it on her own, so he asked permission to take her to the hotel. The lady said that it was not worth doing, but the gentleman said that she would fall again. Well, everyone would help her if something happened, so there was no need to worry. The lady hoped she would look pathetic if he said she was not fit for the duchy. But he said then that they needed her. She no longer expects anything from anyone. She has to be constantly on guard. But now she wants to trust him, and does not understand why her heart trembles because of a simple act of kindness. Since the lady didn't object, he decided to take her. The lady noticed that there was a strange smell in this city at night. Sirius wondered what she was talking about. The smell of burning fires in the fountains, the faint smell of water in the night fog, and also the smell of bergamot orange and musk. The gentleman realized that she was talking about his cologne. The lady also noticed that she smelled wine. Sirius pointed out that she was a beer drinker, and he wouldn't give her alcohol if she felt so weak after drinking it. The lady noted that she would not drink it either, so next time the gentleman promised to check in advance. Euphemia thought about what he said about next time. They were good together. They came across a merchant, and Sirius thought that she wanted to buy something. Well, it wasn't like that because the lady was just admiring the sparkle. They are like stars that fell from the sky. The seller noticed that the lady has a keen eye. Everyone who wants to get a star from the sky comes to him. But these are fake toys, and she has never seen real pearls, and she throws herself at these things. Sirius thought for a moment, then turned to the lady. She didn't understand what was going on. He took one of the ornaments and put it on her neck, saying that it was a gift for her. Euphemia said she couldn't accept it, but the gentleman said she could consider it a souvenir from Marsala. They had to go quickly before it was too late. The gentleman hoped she was okay. He also noted that if she needed help, she could call him, which made the lady extremely grateful. In that case, the gentleman decided to wish her good night and go to his room. In his mind, he wished her sweet dreams, but that night he himself experienced insomnia. It's still a day before he arrives at the duchy, and he doesn't understand why he's still hiding his identity. He found a cest and brought the Duchess's nurse, so there was no use worrying about that little thing. But he was very interested in how the lady would react if she found out about the deception. Perhaps she would get angry or be offended by him. He remembered how she had sincerely thanked him when he had given her this trinket. He didn't understand at all where such thoughts came from. It was enough to drive him crazy. The next day, Euphemia said that she had been tactless yesterday and therefore asked for forgiveness. The guy said that there was no point in saying that because it was a great evening for him, so there was no need to apologize. Euphemia was surprised when she heard about this, and the servant only said that the carriage was ready, so it was time for them to go to the station. They saw someone shouting that they needed to look in some direction. There was a beautiful rainbow there, so it attracted a lot of attention. Spiritual support. Many believed that this was simply a sign of good luck. The lady was very grateful to the spirits. When they were about to go to the train, the gentleman gave her his hand. Once she got on the train, there was no turning back, so she decided she had to go to her destination. It is not known what will happen at the end of the road, however it is for living alone in that beautiful, lonely world. And in this world there is no one on her side, the capital of the empire, the central station of Aleph. Marsala is a noisy city, but she didn't know that it would be so quiet in the special class carriage because there were so many people everywhere. God forbid someone would recognize him, so the gentleman decided to use a hat. He also showed Miss where to go. The luggage was packed. The telegram that the gentleman gave yesterday was sent. Sirius told the lady to be careful because there were too many people here. The girl was very grateful for the concern. The servant still wanted to tell him something, but when she saw this picture, she thought about it. The luggage has already been taken away. The clock is running late. The Duchess will be displeased with the appearance of an uninvited guest in the middle of the night. So he asked the lady to rest at the hotel today and come to the residence tomorrow morning. Yes, then I asked what about him. The gentleman said that he wanted to go to the mansion and tell her that Miss would arrive tomorrow. Cassius knocked on his mother's door, Duchess Hestia Feridith. She was surprised to see her son. The guy said that he had already returned. The lady was interested in whether everything had worked out for him since he had been gone for quite a long time. The place is far away, so the journey took time. The Duchess praised him. She also asked about the nurse. She was not bad, and he thought she could take care of her for a long time, and said she would come tomorrow morning with his assistant. The Duchess was glad because she had been worried, because her name was at the end of the noble list. But now she felt better. The guy said he pretended to be an assistant and thought it was a great idea. The lady noted that he seemed to like it. It was necessary to check her, so he decided to do so. One should be more careful in business. The servants will have to watch her speech. The mother addressed her son in the same way. Cassius asked what she wanted. The gentlemen were informed that Juliet had come while he was away. Mr. Antivirus, the mother, also added that her father had left, and he was worried that she would be lonely. She is smart, cheerful, so it is a pleasure to communicate with her. Juliet Bernard, marriageable daughter of Count Bernard. She is related to the Marquis of Arouet, relatives of her mother, and is the daughter of the Bernard family, which is on good terms with the Duke, the perfect girl who fits the criteria of a great wife, and he really imagined a future with her just like his mother wanted, but now he doesn't want it. Cassius thought that his mother was tired, so he said that he would go to his room. His mother did not object. Dima felt a bit stuffy, so he wanted to get to his room as quickly as possible. He wondered if she was looking at the moon now, the girl who resembled an ice cube. When you get close to it, you can smell the scent of flowers, eyes the color of a peony, and then the stranger who will be a nurse. The lady was surprised when she saw such a majestic mansion in the middle of a colorful and noisy metropolis. The butler met the lady and said that he was glad to welcome her to the residence of Duke Feridith. From now on, he would accompany her, and when he did, he informed her that the Duchess was waiting. Behind this door was the mistress along with her maids. The lady entered and introduced herself, saying that she was the eldest daughter of Baron Lasserre. She is Euphemia Lasserre. The lady was grateful that she had come all this way. The lady said that everything was fine, and the Duchess remarked that she had heard that the girl was worthy of staying with her. She had great hopes. An appropriate modest answer and a gentle expression, a good attempt at using noble manners. Judging by her dark clothes, she has a calm character. That's nice. The nurse must know a lot about pharmaceuticals. Her doctor will test the girl's abilities. So the lady asked Anderson to prepare the medicine with her. All she has to do is carefully chop the herbs and combine all the ingredients to make a medicine for Madame. The lady reported that she could prepare it if he shared the method myrrh, benzoin, marjoram, so many familiar names and herbs that she had only seen in books. The doctor asked how long she had been studying pharmacy. The lady confirmed this, but she had mostly dealt with folk remedies and would be grateful if he could teach her. This was the first noblewoman to ask to be trained. The work is not difficult. She only needs to bring medicine 3 times a day. They would talk about the rest later, and he said that his assistant Emile would be helping her. He asked her to show him the Duchess's medicine for breakfast and the herbal tea she would prepare herself. She brews the herbs without hesitation because she has done it 100 times. That is why she agreed so easily. For the gardener who was injured while working the maid, and for Cecilia who had caught a cold, and also for my mom trying to save her life, it was amazing, just can't take your eyes off it. The Duchess would be lucky if she became her nurse. So while the medicine was brewing, she decided to pick up the ingredients for the tea. Neroli marjoram time. There are so many that she doesn't even know what to choose. She also noticed that there is a spirit of plants there, and it tells her what ingredients to choose for tea. The scent was much stronger than usual, the spirit told her unmistakably, so she was ready. The Duchess noticed that it was taking a very long time, so the girl immediately apologized. The skills are excellent. She followed the instructions precisely and handled the equipment correctly. He also said that the maid would soon bring tea. The lady was surprised and realized that if he said so, she should drink more confidently. This morning, lunch medicine is disgusting to the liver. The taste does not change no matter who prepared it. The lady asked what it was that had been given to her. It was a leaf of asalun. She would be able to bear the bitter taste of the medicine better if she chewed it. And it will have a negative effect on her body, the lady asked Anderson. And he answered that everything was correct, just a slight sedative effect. For the first time, someone caught my eye, but all in vain. She probably thought the leaf would give it a sweet taste, but the Duchess doesn't like sweets. We'll have to look for a new nurse again. The lady decided to try anyway. The Duchess couldn't believe it, just one leaf, and the disgusting taste was gone without a trace. She didn't understand at all why Anderson had given it to her earlier. The doctor only hoped that she was okay. Adding asalun leaves with benzoin, the bitter taste of the medicine is neutralized, and the sweetness of the leaves disappears due to benzoin, which is what gives the feeling of freshness. Although this is not widely known, the lady said that it was not bad. So Euphemia decided that she would consider it an honor to help her. The Duchess asked her to bring this sheet of paper with the medicine in future, and then the girl understood what she had said in future. This tea is good for headaches, and it smells nice, so she wonders where she got such knowledge about tea. The girl remarked that she was ashamed to say it, but she only knew after she had tried it herself. It was simply wonderful and should be saved for Cassius. The lady remarked that she would be grateful if she would now take care of her, so she is expecting her tomorrow, and today she can rest. Euphemia immediately began to smile and told the lady that it was an honor for her. Excellent, nurse. The maid asked that you, the younger maid, escort the nurse to her room. The servants in the Duchy of Feridith are not too happy about the new nurse. Most of the nobles are impudent. 9 times out of 10, they pretend to be noble, although in reality they are not worth a dime. The nurse demands special treatment, and they know very well that they can always rely on their madam. The maid decided that she would not allow her to be insolent, and it was necessary to put her in her place from the very beginning. The maid gave her her room. It was excellent and twice as big as the current one. The maid told her to keep in mind that the servants woke up in turns at 5 a.m. Without an operator, she asked what this meant and suggested that she also needed to get up at this time. The maid confirmed this and remarked that it was her duty. The mistress realized that the maid was neglecting her because she was from abroad. By law, maids are not allowed to address a nobleman's daughter in this way, so the mistress decided to open the curtains and ask what her name was. The lady inquired what time the Duchess woke up because she wanted to prepare herself properly. The maid reported that she repeats that the services wake up at 5 a.m. Euphemia turned to Helen and noted that she seemed to have misunderstood her. Euphemia said that she was not a servant like Helen, but the Duchess's nurse and also a noblewoman. The lady asked if this meant that now she too had to brew tea for Helen and the younger maids. Helen had no idea how she had recognized the hidden meaning in her words. The maids told the newcomers that they usually woke up at 6 but they should get up an hour earlier. The girls were shocked because she said at 6 but the maid noted that they now had elders. They should wake up early and make tea for them because being diligent is a common thing for the younger ones. The older ones were in their place too. This is what the maids say when educating newcomers. Vanya usually doesn't understand the subtext and wanders around the mansion at dawn. Euphemia understood that she was used to treating nobles this way, but she was shocked that this was not stopped in the Feridith Duchy. If so, it would be necessary to tell the Duchess that her rules are being violated. The maid was shocked that she was going to teach Madame Euphemia told her to be careful with her words because the choice is up to the Duchess. The maid noted that she had been serving in the Duchy for a long time and knew very well how to treat a nurse. Euphemia was surprised that she had done this on purpose and noted that the Duchess herself would decide whether such an attitude towards the person caring for her was appropriate. The maid noticed that she clearly had noble logic. If the Duchess, who valued honor, listened to her, it would be bad. So the girl decided to apologize to her and knelt down. She apologized for being rude. After that, she said that she could go free and noted that she would call her if she was needed. Today is a beautiful day indeed. The lady accidentally fell asleep and woke up in the evening. She thought about going for a walk, so she went out into the garden. She only did what she had to, but at that moment she resembled Cecilia. She relied on her noble status. She wondered if there was a difference between her father and her elders who treated the servants as they pleased. The fact that they are connected to each other by blood is alien and frightening to her because she wanted to leave her homeland and start all over again. But the stigma of lineage doesn't disappear no matter where she runs. It's just awful. She noticed a spirit dancing and thought it was a comfort like a grandfather comforting a child. Then Mr. Sirius met her and asked her what she was thinking about. The gentleman asked if he could sit down, and the girl, of course, was not against it. A minute ago she was confused, but now she feels relieved. Perhaps it was because of that scent. He remarked that he had heard it said that the Duchess liked her. The girl was glad to hear something like that, and so the gentleman asked how she was doing here in general. Euphemia said that everything around was a little different, but overall familiar. Sirius even wonders if she will let go of her hands like the other nurses. If that happens, it seems she will return to the Baron. Well, the girl said that it wasn't so. She didn't want to go back to Baron Lasserre anymore, to a place where her existence has no value, and yet she cannot remain in the Duke's residence forever. The girl got scared and started asking if he thought she would be very tormented. Thanks to the wonderful nurse immediately after the Duchess's recovery, the time will come when she will no longer need her. After this, the gentleman laughed, which made the lady smile too. Sirius decided to find out what her plans for the future were. The lady didn't even think about the future. If she can prove her worth to the Duchess as a nurse, then she wants to be with those who will value her. Whether it's family or friends, this is her long-standing wish. Otherwise, she will think about saving money and opening a pharmacy. The gentleman was surprised and asked again, and the girl noted that if the pharmacy didn't work out, then she wanted to open a tea house. The gentleman started to say that this was completely unsuitable for her, but he didn't finish, and then he realized what he was trying to say. The lady was already looking at him with a menacing gaze because he had not finished speaking, and it sounded strange. He noted that there was absolutely no problem with this. The Duchess was not a petty person, so she would quickly accumulate the required amount. Well, the lady was surprised the guy was very happy that he got away with it and she didn't understand anything. Even though she is tired, she will never spare money for praise and reward. Euphemia thought about it and turned to the gentleman. She noticed that she was apologizing, but she didn't know what to answer. The gentleman understand what he is talking about, but subordinates usually do not speak like that. It was already late, she had to go, so she decided to wish him a good rest. The gentleman did not understand what was going on. He reflected that subordinates did not speak like that. He supposed she had read him for calling the Duchess tired. Afterwards, the guy laughed because she scolded him. He realized that he had picked a great nurse. And finally, a servant found him who wanted to tell the master that, as he had requested, the carriage was ready. The guy was sitting with his friends, and they were playing cards, or more precisely, poker. Wow, Cassius can't concentrate on the game this time. The guy pointed out that if they wanted him to concentrate, they had to make the rules of winning more difficult. The guy got angry because Cassius put a real full house on the table. He won again. After that, the guy suddenly threw the glass over and Cassius asked him if he was drunk. With complete confidence, the guy asked him to tell him honestly whether he had a woman. Cassius was a little confused because he had suddenly pounced on the question and remarked that this was some kind of absurdity. Everyone started looking at him and saying that it was true and thought that he couldn't get her, or that it was unrequited love. Cassius thought about it when he heard about unrequited love. The guy asked Todd not to talk nonsense because he forgot that he is a picky person and no one has ever surpassed him. Todd told Arno that he disagreed and was sure that the guy was clearly hiding something, so he asked him to tell her honestly who she was and whether she had rejected him. The guy didn't understand at all. Who in their right mind could reject him? Cassius asked him what he thought. And he thought to himself that this guy had a pretty good mind. Arno told Ralph that too much truth leads to violence. It is certainly true Cassius is the most handsome in Royan, all sorts of women throw themselves at him, but he is definitely not to everyone's liking. They seem to make him nervous, but Cassius reflected that they even cheered him up by teasing him. Todd turned to Cassius or noticed that he decided to bet 1,000 that she would fall for him. Arno decided so too. Ralph decided to bet nothing will come of it because he must experience the bitterness of his whole life. Arno told Ralph that if he was upset with Cassius, he should stop wagging his tongue and settle the matter with his fists. Cassius asked again whether his friend had said that the advice was 1,000. The boy was surprised. Well, after that, he laughed and noted that he somehow put in too little because of the naivety of their son, the Duke. He doesn't know her all the time, considering that women fall at his feet. He bets 5,000. When the gentlemen started to come out, and then they started gossiping about who she was and thought that it was the lady from the dance party, these so-called friends. I think that someone is a horse for racing even betting money. He seems a little interested in her, even if she falls in love. He didn't even know what he was hoping for. There was some kind of chaos in his head. 9 days later, early summer, Faradit Duchy. The doctor asked the miss if she had prepared the necessary herbs. Euphemia reported that she was almost done. That was not bad, and the arrangement was what Anderson decided to delegate this duty to. The gentleman asked Emil to call Hans and ask him to bring the lady up to date. Emil noted that he could handle it for him. The gentleman thought about it and said that in that case it was even better. Emil decided to accompany the lady, and she did not mind. On the way, Emil told her that the fact that the gentleman entrusted her with the care of the herbs proved his trust in her. The Duchess is so relaxed for the first time, and everyone is very happy to see her. Euphemia was very pleased to hear this, which made Emil notice that she was rather modest. On the way, they were met by a man who was very happy when he saw Mr. Kirsten. Emil turned to Mr. Hans and informed him that he had come here to introduce Lady Euphemia to this place. Hans was, of course, not against it, and noted that they could safely look around. Emil said that usually everything was brought from the pharmacy. This place was a backup option, and she could freely use the local herbs. Euphemia understood him perfectly. She knew that not all herbs could be grown on the barony's territory. She saw it in her mother's notes and thought the flower was called Brugmansia. This plant, which can only be found in the southern outskirts, is right in front of her. Euphemia couldn't imagine that it actually existed. She couldn't think that all those fantastic recipes from those notes were real, because there were drugs there, and those that changed body parts and medicines that regenerated organs. Emil asked if she had examined everything, and the lady confirmed this. Hans was surprised when he saw those eyes because he had seen them somewhere. That's why he thought about it. Constantly, but he thought about where he had seen those pink eyes and could not remember. And suddenly, in the middle of the night, he realized that these were the wandering Durandal. Those leisurely gestures, that elegant look and noble aura, and those beautiful pink eyes. The maid thought it was something beautiful. She had never seen anything like it in her life, so she couldn't believe that such an eye color existed. After this, the lady noticed that she was following her, so she asked if she needed anything from her. The maid was very frightened and said in a trembling voice that, no, she was only carrying out orders. She was told that Mr. Emil was here. Euphemia noticed that he had gone to the pharmacy, and it seemed they had missed each other. After that, she asked the maid if that was all. The maid was very frightened, and the mistress asked if that was why she had been watching her for so long. The maid immediately began to deny that she had not been watching her, so the mistress asked if she had not been watching then what she was doing behind the wall. The maid didn't even know what to answer, so she shouted that it was all because she was beautiful. After this, the girl said that she had to apologize because she had urgent business and had to leave quickly. Euphemia thought this girl was funny. The master approached her and remarked that she should not have intimidated the young maid. Euphemia was surprised and noted that she had not done this, so the gentleman thought about it. Sirius noted that even beautiful things can be sinful, just like the apple of discord. In ancient Greek myths, the golden apple on which was written the most beautiful was thrown by the goddess of discord onto the banquet table during the wedding of the gods. They hadn't seen each other since their meeting in the garden, and she wondered if he was angry, but it seemed he wasn't. Sirius wondered if being a nurse was worth it since he had heard that the Duchess was getting better. The lady remarked that fortunately she was very grateful to Mr. Anderson and Mr. Kirsten for the help they had given her. The lady noted that she had said too much last time, so she just wanted him to understand her because she had no intention of criticizing him. Sirius smiled and told her that it was okay, and that he found it funny because it was the first time he had been scolded by someone. Euphemia was surprised because she hadn't scolded him. The gentleman thought she was afraid of hurting his feelings. The lady thought he was going to tell her again that it wasn't right for her. With a laugh, Mr. Sirius said that she was caught and relied on because she was worried. The lady brushed it off and said that she didn't even know. The guy asked if the Duchess's medicine included these herbs and asked what they were for. Euphemia told him that these herbs have a calming effect when there is a severe cough. If he pulled her hand, she would immediately find herself in his arms. But the gentleman did not understand what kind of passionate desire he had suddenly felt. Euphemia told that it was very useful if used with the facets grown here, but she noticed that the gentleman was not listening to her. Sirius remarked that this was indeed very informative, so he asked her to tell him about other herbs as well. The man decided to forget about it because she thought it was all because of the bet. The lady was not at all against it. Sirius believed that he was only interested in her because of a minor passion that would evaporate as soon as she fell into his hands. It didn't mean anything else, so he decided not to think about it. Euphemia continued her story about the grania grass at that time. The Duchess asked Euphemia how long she had been working as a nurse. The girl replied that it had been about a month. The lady noted that she felt noticeably better after her appearance, and the condition of her body, of course, limped. Euphemia was pleased to hear this, so she thanked Miss. The lady began to cough and said that she was very grateful, and the Duchess is going to read a book so she can rest for a while. Euphemia obediently obeyed her mistress. Emile believed that it was thanks to the herbal tea that Madame began to complain of headaches less often. Euphemia noted that it would be good if this were indeed the case. The lady is worried because the cough just won't go away. Emile said that it was all because of this that she was already the second and physically weak, and after that there was silence. But if the gentlemen are so worried, then the cough may be aggravated by inflammation in the bronchi, and so he asked, how about trying a new medicine? The lady was surprised that he thought so and asked again. Emile noted that she was worried about her condition, so he suggested choosing herbs that are excellent at relieving inflammation. Euphemia was very pleased and thanked the gentleman for his help. The gentleman noted that she could simply call him by his first name, Emile. He says he told her that she would then go to the medicinal warehouse and choose herbs that would go with the current medicine. That's why the girl said that she was already leaving, and the gentleman was not against it. But he himself thought that the choice of herbs should be agreed upon with the mentor. She still had a lot to learn. This woman is very special, and he considered her a rare person. Already in the medicinal garden, the girl thought about what of this might suit the lady. Euphemia thought the spirit could give her a hint. Well, he was a bit capricious since he usually helped at will. Maybe he didn't interfere since it didn't concern him. She hopes that the Duchess's health will improve. Perhaps for this reason the spirits did not fulfill her wish to cure her mother, or the spirit is not able to interfere with the birth, aging, and death of people. These are just her guesses. There is no one to ask anyway. The help of the spirits was enough to ease her loneliness, and she will be able to prove with all her might that she is useful as a nurse. Euphemia informed Emile that this seemed to be suitable, so the gentleman remarked that she had an excellent choice. Anderson was simply delighted when he met the lady and told her that the Duchess's cough had improved significantly thanks to the combination of herbs she had suggested. In any case, if there are any unusual symptoms, he asks her to inform him. Euphemia immediately understood him and remarked that it was very nice that she was useful. We should probably do some research on the elixir of the Urindal people that her mother left behind because it would definitely help her. Fresh grass should be here. Hans met the lady and asked what she was looking for here. The lady simply wanted to inquire about the growth process. Hans noted that she was working very hard and was sure that the Duchess's illness would soon disappear. It would be very wonderful after this gentleman turned to her because he wanted to add something. Hans noted that she had a very unique eye color, and he had seen people with pink eyes like hers before. Sometimes he remembers them because such a color is rare. Euphemia was surprised and asked again, also wondered why he thought so. They say that this story, which cannot be told even after death, is the law of the family or something like that. The lady was surprised and asked again, "What is he talking about and what gender does he mean?" Hans wasn't sure she knew since the foreigners of Durandal had lived here before. The girl remembered how her mother told her that she couldn't tell anyone that she had Durandal blood in her. Her father shouted at her to stop talking nonsense about meeting spirits and to forget about the evil blood that her mother left behind. Euphemia was surprised at first, and then added that this was the first time she had heard about this. The color of his eyes is a mixture of all the colors in his family. It's not the first time she's heard that this is rare. Hans agreed with her that eye colors often mixed, and she noted that he had exaggerated something. He then realized that he was mistaken and did not understand what relation the lady had to those wanderers. The girl was surprised because there really was a person who met the Durandal family. Until now, it was just a story left behind by her mother, pink eyes for a gardener or something. She wondered if she would ever meet them too. Hans turned to the lady and asked if they could keep this a secret from Mr. Cassius. He begs her very much because it was only his mistake. When the girl heard this name, she thought that she had never seen him before, and she was interested in who he was that she needed to hide this conversation from him. The Duchess said that she had lost track of time while she was reading, so she asked what time it was. Euphemia reported that it was almost 10. The lady asked Oberth what about Cassius. The young master had just returned to the mansion. He thought she was sleeping, so he stayed outside his room, so maybe he should call him. The Duchess asked him to really do it and also asked that the nurse go to rest already. Euphemia is so unaccustomed to listening to the young master, and she thinks that it is simply pointless to introduce him to her. On the contrary, it's good that she has no intention of being friends with the Duke's son. But still, she was curious about what kind of person he was because they were constantly talking about him. She was wondering if he was more handsome than Sirius, and then by chance, she met him. The girl was surprised when she accidentally met him and did not understand why the assistant was dressed so smartly. Because of this, that his mother called him, they almost came face to face. The gentleman thought that she was going to her room. Euphemia confirmed and asked what about him. She remarked that it seemed to her that he had returned from a walk with young Master Cassius. The guy noted that he was returning from work because the young gentleman was very busy. Euphemia was simply shocked because in the Duchy, even the assistants dress beautifully. He thought that she was curious about Mr. Cassius, but the lady pointed out that this was not so since the nurses had no need to be interested in the Duke's son. The guy apologized and noted that all the previous nurses had been curious about him. The lady didn't really want to end up as a topic for gossip. The gentleman asked her if she thought so. Even if the gentleman himself became interested in her, the girl noted that she simply did not need it and was not interested. Sirius was shocked because the lady is very unshakable, all because she does not want a scandal to arise. After that, the gentleman laughed and remarked that she was rather strict. The guy himself thought that it would be easier if she was the one who was happy to receive attention from the Duke's son. Anyway, he enjoyed talking, but it was time for him to go. The more difficult the game, the more pleasure there is in winning. Sirius kissed his mistress's hand and noted that it was time to let her go to the restroom. The gentleman also wished her good night, which made Euphemia blush, after which she also wished him good night. Euphemia thought that it was not worth focusing on this because it was just an act of kindness. As he walked, Cassius thought about whether her behavior would change if she found out about his identity. He wondered if she would smile like she did now, or if everything would be different. The lady asked what time it was. Euphemia reported that it was already 2 o'clock. The Duchess noted that Juliet would be arriving soon, so it would be a good idea to tidy up the vases. The lady also asked what her son was doing. He must have already told her about his schedule. The servant turned to the madam and said that the young gentleman had left and had urgent business. The lady was upset because he left again, but she had told him to stay home because Juliet would come, so she thought the girl would be very upset. Euphemia tried to console the lady by saying that she believed that Count Bernard's daughter would now spend time with her. The lady said that she would not come here only for her sake and she must have hopes. She tried to arrange a natural meeting before the engagement. Euphemia wondered what kind of person Mr. Cassius was. She couldn't even offer intelligence. The servant announced that Count Bernard's daughter had arrived. The girl was very grateful to Madame for the invitation. The lady was also very glad to see Juliet, so she told her to sit down quickly. Juliet thought that the lady had not yet had time to miss her. The Duchess noted that she had seen her only a few weeks ago. The girl was surprised and noted that she felt like a month had passed, not weeks. Apparently, it was all because she was looking forward to meeting the Duchess. Juliet noticed that this year at the Imperial Arts Festival, the new artist painted very well. Euphemia thought about how she was the kind of person who lived her whole life without worries, and it was obvious. She is different from her. Juliet turned to Madame and noted that she had a present for her. This is a chocolate financier prepared by her personally, so she asks that you accept this as a courtesy. The Duchess was surprised and remarked that she was quite the master. Juliet only hoped that she would like it. The lady decided to try a piece, but suddenly her nurse approached her, which surprised Juliet very much. The girl began to ask what the problem was, and she did not understand at all how the laughing maid could distract her mistress. She apologized because she had to tell him that the medicine she was taking could cause side effects if she ate chocolate. So she asks the lady to abstain today. Juliet didn't even know about it and almost made a huge mistake. The Duchess told Juliet not to worry, everything was fine. She noticed that the nurse was so clear in her words, but it was causing difficulties for Juliet. The Duchess informed Juliet that her nurse was the daughter of Baron Lasserre. This girl was very particular about medicinal herbs and was now working as her nurse. Juliet didn't know about this, so she asked for forgiveness. The lady turned to Euphemia and asked if she would prepare flowers for Juliet as a gift. What do they have in common? That they are both noble ladies, that's all. The lady said that Juliet loves roses. It is clear who is important here. The girl was simply delighted and noted that she was so happy that the lady remembered this. A signal for the nurse to leave her position, so the girl informed the madam that everything would be done. The Duchess said that Euphemia was a professional in her field, so the girl was simply in anticipation. Euphemia had been sitting in the garden for a very long time, so she suddenly wondered how much time had passed. She needed to gather all of this before it was too late, so she decided to get up and do it now. The Duchess behaved appropriately. The Count's reign is an important guest in the Duchy. It is only natural that she cares about her more than about Euphemia. Well, she doesn't understand what this sadness is. A lot has changed since she moved here, and she thought she was recognized as a pretty valuable person. Even here, her place is just a shadow. That's why she is very upset. Tears were welling up. Someone called her. It was Sirius, who asked the lady if she needed his help. The girl immediately wiped her eyes so that he would not see it. The guy asked why she was picking roses alone, because it was somehow strange. The guy noticed that he was a bit early today, but he didn't want to see Juliet Bernard so much that he was forced to do so. Cassius also thought about going to Miss Euphemia, and finally, he found her. He thought about it because she was always so lively around plants, so he didn't understand why she looked so sad now. After that, he came up to her and asked why she was picking roses alone. The gentleman noted that this was the Duchess's request, so Sirius assumed that the Duchess was going to make floral decorations. The lady noted that this was not so. Lady Bernard was visiting her, and this was a gift for her. The gentleman noticed that she was crying and did not understand why he felt so sad. It could be because he missed the moment where she shows her emotions, or because he feels sorry to see her endure everything. If she had cried in front of him, perhaps she would have felt better. The lady said that she needed to gather more mouths to make the bouquet look decent. Sirius offered to do it with her, but the lady was against it because she could handle it herself. She noted that Mr. Sirius would not be able to help her in any way since he didn't even have gloves. At first, the gentleman didn't even know what to answer, but then he noticed that she too was without gloves. Euphemia simply told him that she was used to it and that he might hurt his hand, so he shouldn't do it. She doesn't really understand gardening, of course, but she also needs to be careful. The lady wanted to say that she was fine, but Sirius interrupted her and said that it was not quite fine. Sirius thought she must be in a lot of pain from all the flowers. Early and pain which no one cares about. Euphemia is used to cutting flowers alone. But this man's kindness makes her agree. The lady said that his handkerchief had become dirty, but Sirius asked her not to pay attention to it, so he wanted to help her with the medicine. Euphemia was very grateful for such an offer, but Lady Bernard will soon leave. The Duchess is waiting for flowers. Sirius said that in that case he would wait for her in the backyard, and this surprised the lady very much. The guy also noted that while he was waiting, he would go get some medicine, because he wants to treat her wound, so he asks her not to go. The lady thought that he should become a nurse in such a case. But for some reason this kindness made my soul feel very warm, so I agreed. Juliet was simply shocked when she saw the bouquet. It was so beautiful that words cannot describe it. So she thanked Madame. The Duchess was very glad that she liked it. The Duchess also thanked Euphemia for such work. She had just felt heavy at heart, and now she felt very warm. Perhaps she should expect more from him. A few days later, the lady noticed that her bandaging skills had improved significantly. Because several days have already passed, but it feels like it was yesterday. She remembered him telling her he would wait for her in the backyard, and she wasn't sure if he was actually waiting for her. But when she came closer, she saw that he was standing there with bandages and medicine. Sirius bandaged her arm and asked her to be careful until the wound healed. Euphemia couldn't guarantee it because she had things to do. In that case, he would have to look after her until she was fully recovered. The lady was very surprised when she heard that he wanted to look after her. Sirius was surprised and asked if she wanted to, and if so he wouldn't, but the lady said that was not the case at all. In that case, it's wonderful, and he will have to visit her like this often. Euphemia was very embarrassed about this. A day later, the gentleman came again and asked how early she was. And another day later, he came to her again and helped her while asking if her wounds were hurting. Again, a day later, he thought she had a fever. The lady thought it was difficult for him to find time for her every day. Sirius said that he was even happy about it, and with such a wound, he needed to be careful of tetanus. They talked so much, and she didn't think he would actually be watching her, so she checked all the herbs needed tomorrow, and Mr. Sirius will be coming soon. Well, she suddenly thought about it, and in the meantime, the maid called her. She said that she had not tried to steal from her and that she had gone to Mr. Emile for the medicine on behalf of Mrs. Helen, but there was still time before it was ready. The girl was surprised that she said about the order from Helen. Mr. Emile also takes care of the servants, so she had time, so she decided to admire the herbs. The lady was surprised that she was interested in medicinal herbs. The maid did not hear at first, but then confirmed it. There is a duty in the work of a servant, but she, like a nurse, wants to know a lot about plants and medicine. Her dream is to work as a nurse. The lady thought the girl apologized for cutting off a leaf and eating it. Euphemia decided to offer her a story about herbs when she had free time. The girl couldn't make peace because it was true, and she was very happy. But she shouted it too loudly. This even made the girl laugh, so she confirmed once again that it was true. When she removed the bandages, she noticed that the wound was almost invisible. She didn't want to believe that it would be more difficult to meet with Mr. Sirius now that her arm was completely healed. But he himself came to the miss, which made her surprised. The gentleman asked how her hand was. Euphemia noted that she was already feeling much better. She also turned to the gentleman and noted that she thought that he might not have to keep an eye on her now that she had taken a drag too early. The gentleman thought for a moment and remarked that he was thinking of visiting her often. The lady was so surprised that she asked again. It wasn't about her injured hands. He was interested in how her day had gone, what her mood was. And they still have a lot to talk about. He pulled out a flower and placed it on the lady's head. He noticed that the flower suited her and she was beautiful like a fairy. Euphemia asked him not to make fun of her. The gentleman was surprised that this was noticeable, so the lady got a little angry, but he said with a smile that it was just a joke. The lady is really beautiful. After these words, the girl became even more embarrassed. She thought that this might be some kind of plan. In any case, such a tender pastime was very unusual for her, and she wants to enjoy it as long as possible. The girl noted that your medicinal herbs were effective again. This was great news. Sirius asked if it was difficult for her to grow them. The lady noted that Mr. Hans was coping friendliness, peace, recognition of her abilities. The days are so warm that the flowers do not wilt. The healer told her to use the daytime medicine exactly like this and decided to end it there for today. The lady was not against it, and the gentleman, having gathered himself, remarked that he was very glad that the Duchess was getting better and said that they would meet tomorrow. Euphemia wished him well, but suddenly Mr. Emile turned to her, which greatly surprised the lady. It was already too late, so the gentleman offered to take her. Euphemia began to say that it was not worth it because it was too close for her to walk, but Emile insisted because it was already very late and night was already outside. The doctor agreed because it was pitch dark there. The lady noticed that it was really dark outside, so she agreed. Emil was very surprised, and when they were already on their way, he noticed that lately she had been getting along with Miss Lily. The lady noted that they had become close after meeting in the backyard. Emil thought it was good to have a kindred spirit. The lady asked him if he had such friends, but the gentleman replied that he did not have such friends. The girl was a little upset and embarrassed by such an answer, but the gentleman added that he did not have time to get closer because everyone was busy. Euphemia understood him perfectly, after which the gentleman asked if she missed her home. The lady shuddered at this and said that she didn't even know. Not much time had passed since her departure. Emil agreed with her, and after that, the lady asked if Aleph was his homeland. The gentleman confirmed this and added that he was born here, and his parents are a Rask people originally from Dallow. They met while studying abroad and got married. Dallow is a southern country surrounded by sea on 3 sides, so the lady asked if he had been there. The guy said that he had been there once or twice during his travels, but after his parents died, he had no one to go there to. The lady asked for forgiveness, and the gentleman noted that everything was fine because a lot of time had passed. Instead, he often attends gatherings of people from his homeland, and these gatherings are attended by peoples related to the Rasks. The Rasks are not the only ones from Dallow. The lady was surprised when she heard about the related peoples and understood. She wanted to say something else, but the gentleman noted that they were already there. After that, he asked what she had just wanted to say, and the lady said that she had said nothing of the sort. So Emil wished her sweet dreams, and the lady was very grateful to him for bringing her. Since there are many such gatherings, she can meet with people from Durandal. The lady would be able to feel a kinship rely on them. They would accept her knowing her secret. If only she could meet these people, everything would change. Park Lankar Hippodrome. The boy asked Cassius how he was doing, and if everything was going smoothly. The boy had no idea what he was talking about. His friend wanted to ask about the girl he had bet on. He decided to expand his business, and now he felt sorry for the money he had bet. He asked him to support him because the money depended only on this bet. Cassius told Marquis Rasmore to keep his dignity. The boy was just curious. It's clear that there are women, but she doesn't go to social events. Another guy thought that it was Juliette Bernard because she often visits Feridith's mansion. The Marquis believed that she didn't even have to try hard to get married, so he didn't understand what he was even talking about. He really is suspicious somehow Cassius didn't think so at all, but he was even a little pleased by this situation. The Marquis said to look at him because he was cheerful again, and his friend agreed with him. They are not bad at all from the very beginning. He was tempted not by a bet on money. He could not believe that they had to put everything on the shelves. One thinks he has unrequited love, and the other bets on him to succeed. Cassius agreed because he was tired of it, but the feeling is much more romantic and sincere than controversially money. To confront someone with a pure soul without family status or wealth, and the enemy whose heart was closed gradually approaches like a flower that will soon bloom. Waiting for this blossoming is very difficult for him because he is very pleased with her. The guys asked Cassius if he listened to them at all, and he was then in thought that even if she fell in love with him, he was not sure that she would be carried away by him, knowing that he was Cassius Feretitus. And if not, then everything will be different. The Marquis was glad because they were already leaving. He also asked Cassius who he was betting on, and he told him to see for himself. He won again. If she doesn't get carried away by him, then he will decide everything intuitively. In the end, he is always the winner, so he will not accept the fact that she does not love him. The girl wrote a letter to her father and said that she had received his letter, but now it was not so easy to send him money. The Duke's family plans to pay a lump sum based on her performance next year, and there is currently no way to send him money, so she asks him not to torment her and wait. And she didn't say the truth, but she didn't lie either. It would be great if there were fewer letters asking for money. The lady noticed that Helen also came with some letter. She heard that the maid was taking medicine because she was feeling unwell. The lady actually noticed that the maid was very poor, and she was surprised that there was no change. Perhaps she is interfering in vain, but she still wants to ask how she is feeling. So the mistress turned to her and asked how she was feeling. The maid remarked that she should not worry. Euphemia is happy, but it would still be nice to undergo treatment again. The funnel agreed with her but said that it was time for her to go. The mistress believed that the maid was reacting this way because of their first meeting. The color of her face and lips seems familiar. It feels like something is very bad with her. The lady heard the knock, so she immediately turned around. Something made her follow the maid. And then she saw Helen lying on the floor. She immediately rushed to examine her. There seems to be no injuries, pulse, and breathing, but she has tachycardia. Tachycardia is a condition in which the pulse rate is higher than normal. It's similar to what happened before her mother died. She needs to calm down. There is no one around. We need to report this urgently. The lady noticed the wind spirit. So she called her to her very quickly. She asked if she could calm her breathing. Perhaps he did not want to or could not do it. The spirit itself did not understand anything. So the lady asked if there was anyone there because the man had fainted. She asked him to pass this on to the one closest. The spirit continued to stand before her. The lady shouted for him to do it faster. After that, the spirit flew out the window. The lady didn't even know what else to do. It's completely unclear what to do in such a situation. Then she noticed the spirit of plants near her, and she began to remember what medicine she had used when her mother was sick. After thinking for a while, she remembered and asked him to dissolve the foxglove leaves and give them to her. The spirit did nothing, so the lady screamed and asked him to do something. If you don't hurry, she might die, after which the spirit did something. And the complexion improved, so the lady was a little happy. Euphemia didn't understand at all what was happening. Her body was aching, and she felt like she was going to throw up. Then a servant burst into the room and shouted the name of the mistress and the maid. Finally, someone had come. Euphemia called him here and asked him to help because she couldn't lose consciousness. When they helped her after a while, the maid opened her eyes. The other maid was happy and asked if she was okay. Helen wondered how she had ended up there. The maid told her that she had fainted. Fortunately, the nurse, the Duchess, was nearby and she gave her first aid. Helen was very surprised and didn't believe it at first, so she asked again if she was talking about Lady Euphemia. She was already cheerful and went about her business and said that tomorrow she would have to look at her again. Mrs. Euphemia conveyed this to Mr. Kirsten. Helen hated her and looked down on her, so she can't believe that this woman helped her. Tears began to well up on their own, and she was very grateful to her. Euphemia felt unwell. She wanted to see the maid wake up, but she could no longer restrain herself. She lay on her bed and coughed. The lady was very exhausted. She almost passed out from the pain several times, so she didn't understand why her condition had worsened so much. She didn't feel any signs. Helen suddenly fainted. Borrowing the power of the spirit. The moment they were healing Helen, the pain came rushing back, just as she asked the spirit for help. The spirits cannot harm her. Perhaps this was the first time they had been asked for such a thing, and she had already turned to them with a small request, for example. But here she asked him to dissolve the leaves and give them to her. It turns out that they also fulfill complex requests that concern other people. The spirits were indifferent to those things that had nothing to do with her. Therefore, she is interested in listening to her if she asks persistently or if specific methods need to be indicated. Then, if you're wondering what about her desire to cure her mother, everything could have been better if she had asked differently. But she's not sure that's true because she's completely confused. And at times like these, it would be great to ask someone, if her mother were alive, everything would be different. Or maybe not just mom, but their people. Durandal knows the answer for sure, so she should find them. Anyone who knows about the people of Durandal. A few days later, she came to Mr. Hans and greeted him. The man was delighted when he saw the Lady Euphemia remarked that the flowers were very lovely. Hans, surprised, asked again and noted that it was hot now, so he took better care of them. The lady remarked that the pink color was very beautiful, because that's what he said last time. Hans was a little surprised and asked again what she was talking about and what the last time was. The lady asked if her eyes were really similar to the eyes of the Durandal people. She was curious because it was an unusual color, and it would be great for her to find out what kind of people they were. The gentleman immediately said that this was not at all true, and her eyes were not at all similar. He had heard a lot of different things, so he blurted out too much. Durandal said that everything was fine and also changed that she had confused him. The man said that no one would think that she was one of those wanderers. I just didn't understand at all why he thought that way, and then the man began to worry even more. They just disappeared a few decades ago. After that, the lady's expression was terrifying. She asked again. The lady couldn't believe that the people of Durandal had really disappeared, so she didn't even know what to say. She didn't understand why and why it happened. She was surprised and noted that apparently something bad had happened. True, but it's all in the past, so the lady shouldn't worry about it. He thought it was a shocking story for such a noble lady. Euphemia asked if he was sure he wasn't mistaken. The man turned away and said he was absolutely sure, and noted that there weren't many of them anyway. He was completely distracted and forgot that Mr. Oberth had asked him for something, so it was time for him to go. The man knew that he seemed to have piqued her curiosity. They were here and nowhere else would the people of Durandal pursue him. He was absolutely sure that this could not happen because it was completely impossible. Durandal people, she had never seen people of her own with whom she could share secrets. The lady involuntarily waited for the moment when she could be next to him, even for a moment. Well, she thought that even this was not destined to come true. Euphemia Lasser is a creature that ruins everything, and she is the loser of this world. It has always been that way. Now nothing has changed and she is alone again. Cassius was pleased because the weather was simply lovely. His plan is being implemented step by step, so he walked along humming a song. Lately, he feels like he's getting closer to Miss Euphemia. When she sees him, her cheeks turn red and she smiles. He was sure that soon the lady would find herself in his arms with a happy heart, and then perhaps he should reveal to her that he is Cassius Ferretitus. But he had no idea how she would react, because who knows, maybe she would like it that he was the son of a duke. Well, then it would be boring. And yet he wondered what would happen next. With these thoughts, he walked through the garden. After some thought, Cassius wondered why he should bother since he would lose interest once he achieved what he wanted. It was just a temporary distraction, he was sure of that, but not entirely. The gentleman was surprised when he saw Mrs., but he saw that she was crying. When she raised her head, he saw that she was in tears. The gentleman did not know what to answer. And Euphemia continued to cry. It seemed that the time had come, so he turned to her, and when he came, he hugged her. Cassius thought it would be better for her to cry in front of him. He thought it was all a passing amusement. The lady did not stop crying. Cassius told her that everything was fine and everything was okay, so he asked her to be calmer. He couldn't end it like this, so he kept imagining his next steps. She was warm now, but she couldn't sit like this forever. So she turned to Mr. Sirius. When he raised his head, they were very close to each other. Cassius asked if she was feeling any better, and the lady, embarrassed, noted that of course she was. They were too close, so she was embarrassed, and the lady also asked for forgiveness that he found her like that. Cassius said there was no need to worry about it, so she also asked what had happened to her. At first, Euphemia didn't quite understand, but then apologizing, she noted that it was nothing important. Sirius was surprised. The Lord noted that, nevertheless, thanks to his support, she felt better, so she was very grateful to him for his care. The gentleman took her hand and remarked that he was very glad about it. Euphemia said that it was time for her to go. The gentleman, of course, was not against it, and also wished her good dreams, and it was mutual. When Euphemia came to your room, she fell to the floor because for the first time since her mother's death, someone hugged her like that. Mrs. Euphemia has a strange and dizzying feeling, so she needs to refresh her thoughts. The girl decided to open the window, and when she looked at the sky, you noticed that there was a North Star. Even in its moment of loneliness, the brightest star remains unchanged. This star is so bright. Meanwhile, the maid lay in her bed and did not understand what to do. What did she see in the garden? It was just awful. She was just passing by and saw that there was someone there. But as she approached, she noticed that Mrs. Euphemia and young Mr. Cassius were there. The master woke up and was irritated. The servant said that he would bring the master clothes. After this, the gentleman chose what he would wear. His assistant noted that it was a modest choice. He turned to the gentleman and noted that today he had a summer exhibition at the Imperial Academy of Arts scheduled, and that the meeting with the wife of the Marquis of Urin would take place in 4 days. The gentleman noted that he knew about it, for which the assistant apologized because he only wanted to confirm. Today everyone would obviously dress luxuriously, but he chose this modest suit, so he asked if everything was okay with the gentleman. Cassius said yes, and when he looked in the mirror he thought it's too simple. Although after the event he will meet Miss Euphemia, so the outfit is just right. He would probably dress exactly like this if he were Sirius. Unfortunately, he is a duke. He can't even express what he cares about. It's a woman, so he feels like it's a bit stupid. Well, thanks to this incident, he was able to accept that Euphemia Lasser was special to him. Well, the gentleman is not sure how long this will last and was thinking about how long she will be like this for him. The Duchess announced that today was the summer exhibition, and since it was a social event, it would be time for luxury. Miss Lily noted that everyone will try to find a partner who matches their level, after which the lady looked up from the newspaper and noted that today, the smell of tea was wonderful as always. Euphemia was very grateful to her. She lived in such a way that the old daily routine was repeated, the day ended, and a new one began. Euphemia holds on even in moments of mortal sadness. The people of Durandal are gone. She can't even rely on her father's family unless she belonged to her mother's family as well. The girl had no idea where her refuge was. She remembered that the Duchess had said that everyone would try to find a partner that matched their level. And she began to think that perhaps she should get married, but there are vows of love that ended in disaster like her parents'. If this is not a relationship that causes pain, but a family in which everyone is focused on a common future, then maybe Sirius would suit her, but then she realized what she was thinking. The girl became very embarrassed and immediately began to shake her head, thus denying her thoughts. She considered them useless because it was more important for her to focus on something more real. Euphemia has decided that she will continue to stick to her role as a caregiver. She is saving a lot of money. And in the future she will open a pharmacy. It would be nice if one day one met a person on whom one could rely. Someday it will happen, but what a loneliness, and it saddens her so much. Indeed, without the spirits, she would not have been able to endure all this. They constantly help her. And Mr. Sirius, too. She hadn't seen him for a few days, so she thought that he probably wouldn't come again today. The gentleman was irritated because he had an exhibition, a trade business. Everything needed to be resolved. Everything collapsed so suddenly, so he does not understand how long it will take him to return. When he passed by the window, you were surprised because you never noticed that a field of grass was always visible from this corridor. Miss Euphemia was also visible. She was charming as always, but he was interested in what she was looking for. Perhaps she was waiting for someone. And then he realized that she was waiting for Sirius. When Euphemia turned to see who was in her midst, she saw Sirius there. He was happy when he noticed her because he was looking for her. The lady noticed that she was resting. Then the gentleman noted that there were many more herbs today. Euphemia agreed with him and said that she was preparing a new medicine. The preparation will be slow for some time and the Duchess's condition will improve. Perhaps he should tell her now that he is not the Duchy's assistant, but its master. He is Cassius Fereditus. The lady thanked him again for his support last time. Sirius pointed out that it was an honor for him, so there was no need to thank him so much. He couldn't call that he was feeling this way, so gentle and sweet he wanted to hug her and protect her. However, he believed that love was a fleeting feeling. None of his father's lovers could give him their hearts. Besides this, many people refuse their declaration of love, being deceived, ruining their lives. He is not sure whether he can be sure that his feelings are different from others. And if so, then there is only one conclusion. He turned to the miss and kissed her hand. He understood that he would like her as long as possible, so he asked her to let him only comfort her from now on. Cassius will be as nice to her as he can, but in the end, this feeling can only be corrected by disappearance. The woman told the gentleman that she had heard him, and she was very glad that he was serious about the liberation of the Crimdell mine. Her husband would not ignore it either. Cassius was glad to be of service to Madame. The lady noted that she was also afraid that the surrounding area would become littered when the mine was completely cleared. The master told her not to worry. Of course, such influence cannot be neglected, but it will definitely give life to the nearby villages, and they are not stingy with their support. The lady would like to think more about what he said. It seems there is no point in jumping to conclusions. The gentleman heard her. He believed that the transfer of the Crimdell mine would have beneficial consequences for everyone, and the gentleman also noted with a smile that he hoped that she would make the right decision. When she left, the smile disappeared from his face. It was not easy. She tried to soften the circumstances, but in her eyes there was a clear refusal. He didn't understand what the problem was because they knew that it was better to dig a mine. Perhaps it was all because of his age. If he waited until he was of age, he might not make it in time for the department store to open. The assistant realized that his master was probably in a bad mood. Cassius decided that this would not do. His department store absolutely had to have the precious stone from the Crimdell mine. Although Marquis Urin abandoned mining because of the difficulties, fantastic gemstone chrysoberyl, the color of which changes depending on when and in what light a person sees it, an item whose rarity will trigger advertising and stir people's emotions, making his department store a special place. The gentleman thought about it and realized that he had only one way left. He asked his mother if she could meet with her. The lady was surprised and asked him again if he really wanted her to meet her. The guy thought it would be great if she told this woman about the mine. The woman, without thinking twice, agreed and noted that she had known the Marquise for a long time, but that did not mean that she would succeed. He also noted that she had a return request for her son, and the guy was ready to listen to her with a smile. The Duchess is thinking of inviting Juliet Bernard to dinner soon, so she asked him to attend too. She hoped that this time he would not run away on urgent business. She could become his potential bride. A few days later, the girl was walking in the garden because the Duchess told her that she could rest and only come for dinner. Euphemia was surprised because the lady suddenly told her to rest. Perhaps it was because Miss Bernard came for dinner. The spirits played a cruel joke on the flowers. Suddenly, a carriage stopped for her, and the lady said that she was very glad to meet her. It was Mrs. Bernard. She happened to look into the garden and saw her. And the girl also noted that she had been reckless last time Euphemia asked again what she meant. Juliet noted that she was the daughter of a baron, but she didn't know it. So it didn't really catch her eye. Euphemia then realized what she meant, so she assured the lady that she didn't have to worry about it. The lady realized that she had simply taken her for an ordinary maid. Juliet thought that the mistress managed the garden. But this was not entirely true. The care of it is carried out by the gardener. Somewhere she was simply delighted because the lady knows so much about flowers, so she thought that suddenly she could grow them herself. Juliet remarked that Ferideth's family garden was as beautiful as ever. The second lady simply remained silent. A lady who was raised in love and beauty does not even suspect the dark side of the world. Juliet is different from Euphemia, and she herself understands this. Therefore the lady turned to her and informed her that Madame was already waiting for her. Juliet agreed that it was time, and she realized that Mr. Cassius would also be coming, so she couldn't be late. The girl was very happy to meet her, so she thanked her. Euphemia was grateful in return and bowed to her. Juliet also turned to the missus and remarked that her roses were simply magnificent. She remembered all those moments when she collected them. From Juliet only noted that she would be glad to have them again. It gets annoying again. The flowers she picks are always meant for others. Spirits began to fly towards her, but she told them that she was completely fine. Judging by the fact that Miss Euphemia is not next to Mother, she let her go on purpose. The boy thought that his mother was probably trying to create a cozy atmosphere, but it was for the best. Juliet Bernard is the ideal bride. Her age, background, and sociability will all be very useful in business. Moreover, his mother had already decided everything for him. It would be right to marry Juliet Bernard. Mrs. Lily turned to her son and asked him if he was worried about something. The boy said that this was not the case at all, and that he was simply surprised by the aromatic taste of the wine. Juliet thought it was possible that being from Mount Dallow, it smelt of sunlight. Madame remarked that she was rather picky. A servant entered the room and announced that the refreshments in the living room were ready. Cassius thought about the fact that it seemed that he could now confidently say that he had fulfilled the request. So the guy got up from the table and wished them a pleasant time because it was time for him to go. The mother turned to her son and said that she felt unwell. Apparently she had eaten something wrong. If Juliet didn't mind, then she would ask him to take care of her. Juliet immediately began to tell Madame that she certainly did not mind and hoped that things would get better. Lily was grateful for the care, so she asked her son to take care of her. The lady herself left them alone. Juliet noted that the last time she was visiting, Madame had given her roses. The gentleman was surprised, and she noticed that she looked around the garden and realized how beautiful it was. The girl said that during the walk, she felt as if she were in a forest. Cassius decided to add that since her mother was often at home, she paid a lot of attention to the garden. Apparently, he wouldn't say what she expected, so she decided to put up with it. Now he was in a somewhat advantageous position, so she turned to the gentleman and said that if he didn't mind, she suggested that they take a walk together in the rose garden. She will have to treat him accordingly. That is what will make her Duchess Ferideth. Cassius Ferideth is the man who will make her Duchess Ferideth. It is difficult to find a partner who matches, so the gentleman noted that it was too late, so she suggested doing it next time. Juliet agreed and noted that she would like it to be on a sunny day. Cassius came to his mother and told her that he wanted to postpone his engagement to Juliet Bernard. The woman turned pale. The Duchess did not understand what was going on and thought that he did not like her. Cassius, well, what can I say? Of course I'm not like that. She's a beautiful and delightful girl, but he needs to be examined. He's from China, after all. He hasn't even proposed yet. He needed to think it over. The lady was shocked that he had to do it since there was no reason to postpone the engagement if his mind didn't change. Cassius informed his mother that this was what he wanted, so the lady had no right to disagree. They say no mother can overcome her child, but he is still very harsh. The lady told him that she would postpone the engagement as he asked. So the son was very grateful to her, but he must understand that marrying Juliet is the right thing to do, because he himself knows that it is reasonable, or maybe he just wants to taste freedom before marriage. In fact, it is common for aristocrats to have a mistress even if she does not approve of it. Cassius would have been urged by her words, madam, to make this decision before winter came. She thought that his father would not accept it as she did so. The boy remained silent. Even if the washing is postponed, he will still marry Juliet Bernard for the sake of the family because everyone wants this marriage. And also everyone imagines only about him. He is the only one and must be until death. It would be the right decision. His thoughts accidentally turned out to be Euphemia, which scared him very much. His mother noted that he still had not revealed his identity to her nurse. He still seems to think it's unnecessary, Cassius, and then he points out that he only thinks she's a great nurse. Here she is about the same thing. Perhaps it is worth telling the language because he is the son of the Duke, because she believes that it is better not to deceive her. Cassius was in complete agreement with his mother and remarked that he would soon reveal this. Juliet was informed that they had already arrived. Talking to the Duke's son was useless, but in the eyes of the Duchess, she looked perfect. The servants thought the mistress had a good time. The mistress confirmed it. Juliet also said that the Duke's residence was very beautiful. Marriages between aristocrats are based on rationality anyway. There is no one better than her, so she will soon be a duchess. She does not dislike the daughter of the election, but she was not sure that it was wise to allow a young girl into the Duke's residence at such a time. Fortunately, she was not stupid, and she wondered if she had outlined her options to her, would she have understood how to act? Then a flower pot fell on Mrs. Juliet's head. The servants immediately began to panic and call for a doctor. The lady said she was fine, and they immediately started to figure out who was responsible for the flower pots. The girl didn't even know what would have happened if she had hurt her head. They had to urgently take the lady further from here. All this was done by the spirits who were very happy, but they were very sorry that it did not work. Cassius walked through the garden and thought about his mother's words about how it was common for aristocrats to have mistresses. The gentleman thought that perhaps she said this because she was remembering her father, but he did not want Miss Euphemia to be his mistress. He cannot swear eternal love to her, but he still has not let her go. Cassius has decided that he can no longer hide his identity, because he doesn't want to face hatred, so the guy didn't understand at all how he should act in such a situation. And then when he looked up, he saw that Mrs. Euphemia was in the window. He greeted her. The lady was very surprised and did not understand why he was not sleeping. Cassius had a counter-question to which the lady told him that she had insomnia. The gentleman said that he had the same problem, so he asked her to come down. The lady was very surprised by these words and asked again to make sure of it. The guy just suggested she take a walk since she couldn't sleep. The nurse's assistants are walking at such a fire hour. Someone might see her and rumors will spread. Well, he asks her to come closer to him, and something doesn't allow her to refuse. Sirius asked what she was doing. The lady told him that she was simply thinking about the future. With a smile, the gentleman remarked that he assumed she was thinking about what to call the pharmacy, so he asked if he could suggest a name for her as well. Euphemia decided to ask him if he had any thoughts on the matter. The guy asked about the Pink Cat's pharmacy. Euphemia was very surprised and asked again. She cried that he just really liked teasing her. Sirius confirmed this and began to laugh with a smile. The lady was also amused by this because she had not expected this. The gentleman was happy because now she was smiling at him too. The lady was surprised the guy began to tell that when they first met then, and he thought that she didn't like him. Euphemia was very nervous and was afraid that she would not be able to become the Duchess's nurse. But she is the perfect candidate for the position, so he asked her to stay with them as long as possible. Euphemia noted that in case the Duchess needed her, this would remain. The gentleman asked if she would remain if he asked her to stay in the Duke's mansion. The lady did not know what to answer him and let you say that you will stay because it is good when someone needs her. The gentleman noted that apparently being a necessary person is a very important condition for her. The lady admitted that it used to be like that she always wanted to prove her usefulness. Sirius doesn't understand at all why this is so because everyone already understands that she is important. The lady didn't know how to tell him, but then she admitted that she felt uncomfortable going home, and he probably realized this when he picked her up. She had lived her entire life with the thought that she did not want to be a burden to her family. Now Cassius understood why this had become the most important value. He was very angry with the Baron. The lady thought that was probably true. She was a little confused because they were revealing their souls to him too much. It seemed too much, so the lady tried to find another topic. Meanwhile, Cassius invited her to sit down. The lady was not at all against it. She really likes it here. The praise of the Duchess, the exchange of opinions with the doctors, everything is so useful for her. Therefore, the gentleman was very happy this time. The lady was responsible for decorating the flowers for the tea party during the arrival of the Marquise of Orphan. Sirius assumed she was talking about her visit. The girl confirmed this and also added that the Duchess appreciated her work, and she was thinking about what flowers to use for decoration. Euphemia had heard that the relationship with the Marchioness was very important to the Duke's son. Sirius tensed up a little because it was about him. He was the son of a duke. His heart ached. He didn't know what to tell her. The lady turned to him and asked him if he knew much about the Marquise. The gentleman said that not much. The Marquise of Orphan is raising her minor heir alone since the Marquise has died, and she is a noble lady with a calm disposition. The deal is for the Duchy to take over the development of the gem mine, and the Marchioness, although this has long been in the plans, has not agreed to a formal meeting. This had already taken a lot of time and effort. Euphemia asked how long ago the Marquise had died. Sirius told her that it happened last year. They were quite a harmonious couple. Sirius believed that the terms the Duchy had offered for the deal were simply excellent, and since your surroundings were poorly developed, it would be much more profitable to develop a mine there. He also noted that everything was very difficult, so he could not pester the Marquise about the sale and the mines. The lady wondered if there was another reason, and thought that perhaps this was an area with a family history. Sirius folded his arms and told her that as far as he knew, this was not a significant area for their family. And recently, a country house located on the shore of a lake near this area began to be used as a holiday resort. Euphemia was surprised by this and asked how long ago. About 5 years already. This line is not enough to turn that place into a historical value. Cassius remembered and noted that perhaps she simply did not want to sell it or was planning to raise the bar on the terms, although there were already many terms. The girl thought that since the Marquis was against sales, it meant that the deal was impossible. The guy noted that the deal was to stimulate the desire to sell. Euphemia told him that no one could know because perhaps this value could not even be converted into money, whether it is fame or authority, and the rest depends on the conditions. She turned to Mr. Sirius and said that this may sound strange, but there are other innumerable things besides fame and authority. The lady told that one day one of the Baron's maids quit when she got married, and after a while another maid announced her resignation. So the lady asked what was the matter, and she said that she had found support in the person of the servant who had left, but after her dismissal it became more difficult for her. After this, they began to pay more attention to their servants, giving them flowers that were left over from the house decor. They also gave medicine to heal wounds. It seems like a small thing, but thanks to it, the servants worked longer and better. The girl said that it was then that she realized that even small psychological factors can have weight. Sirius agreed with her. Well, he thinks that if she had told the maid that she was going to raise her salary, she wouldn't have gone anywhere. That may have been the case, but she believes that psychological factors need to be taken into account, and she thinks that this will help the young master. He believed that the Marquis family had preserved enough face that it needed to be clarified if there was anything else worth paying attention to. Suddenly, the lady thought about what time it was. She turned to the gentleman saying that it seemed like it was time for them to leave because it was very late. She thought that it would be difficult for him to work tomorrow if he didn't get enough sleep, so she asked him to go to bed quickly. But when she started to leave, the gentleman grabbed her hand and asked me if she was comfortable with him. The lady was very surprised and asked him again what he was talking about. She did not understand what he was talking about because they had already had a good time, and she was surprised that he did not want to say goodbye. The lady told him that this was not so at all and also asked why he thought so. Cassius told her that the reason was not her and said to himself that it was all his. He remembered his mother's goofy words that she thought it was better not to deceive her, so he decided that now he should reveal the truth. But he doesn't know whether he can tell her or whether he needs to wait a little longer to open his whole soul to her. Well, the gentleman wants to share his true feelings, even if it is for a moment, but suddenly knowing the truth, she will hate him. He couldn't allow that, but he also thought that he had never been so afraid of failure. Euphemia turned to him and asked him what was going on, and the guy remarked that they were just driving him. What could he say? It's just a feeling that will soon disappear, so he doesn't understand what he's so afraid of. The lady said with a smile that she was ready to listen to him, so the gentleman became very embarrassed and said nothing. They kissed. His feelings were stronger than he thought. The girl thought that Duchess Lily must be very tired to go. Now she needs to take a nap while she sleeps. She needs to prepare everything for the arrival of the Marquise. Euphemia noticed that her lips were swollen when she looked at herself in the mirror. Then she became very embarrassed and blushed because she remembered what happened yesterday. She wondered what Mr. Sirius wanted to tell her, but he said nothing then and remarked that he would tell her that next time. The girl didn't understand why he kissed her and what it all meant. When she left the Baron, you promised yourself that she would never trust anyone again. However, she still hopes that this man is an exception to her misfortunes. There was a smile on her face when she thought about him, so it must mean something. She decided to stop this because she needed to prepare for the Marquise's arrival faster. She noticed the spirits and believed that they just wanted to help her. Flowers that you have put effort into finding will show your sincerity better than those blooming in the local garden. The lady remembered that for decoration, she would be given flowers growing on the Marquise's estate. She thought that the mine was in the Crimdel area. There was a lake on the territory of the Marquise of Orphan, so she was interested in what kind of flowers there were. She was surprised that the spirits were also there, but they did not understand what was happening. The lady asked if they knew by any chance what flowers grew on the Marquise's lands. This made the spirits very happy. It was an opportunity for them to show off their favorite flowers. The lady was very surprised and shocked because the spirit was showing her a lotus flower. She knew that it was difficult to see because of its picky nature, because it only grows in very clean water. However, if the environment is suitable, the lotus can bloom near water. The lady thought that the Marchioness must have seen these flowers growing near her pond. Then they would definitely be worth adding to the bouquet someone knocked. Because of this, the lady accidentally pushed the cup of tea and spilled it. This made her very upset. But her attention was distracted by the fact that it looked like there was something in the spilled tea. And what do you tell her that this is a magical spirit, a lake of lotuses? This is a landscape in the Crimdel area. She heard that the lake is located Villa Uren. Then she realized that those people were Marquis Uren and his wife. She went to the villa even after her husband's death. The lady realized that if the mine began to operate, the lake would inevitably become cloudy, and there was a high probability that the lotuses blooming in the clear water would never appear again. Therefore, Euphemia thought that perhaps this place serves as a memory of the Marquis, her husband, so she does not dare to sell the mine, but wants to keep everything for herself. But the lady wondered if it was really a good choice to decorate with lotus flowers. The bouquet would show the Marquise their opinion and mood, but she was not sure that it would not cause an unnecessary feeling of nostalgia. Perhaps the lady will say that as she wanted the sale of the mine is cancelled for memories, she must keep the lake and lotus flowers. That is why the lady herself thought about how this could lead to such a result. Therefore, she did not know at all what to do. When the Marchioness arrived, she was very grateful to the Duchess for the invitation. Lily was very glad to see her mistress and noted that they had not met for a long time. Uren helped that the lady was doing well and confirmed this, and was also grateful that she was interested. The lady was surprised when she saw the flowers. These are immortelle roses and those plants. These flowers grow only in her domain. They cannot be found on the islands, so it is interesting how he managed to bring them here in a couple of days. The Marchioness noted that the flowers were very beautiful, and she was very grateful for the care from Madame Faraday. The lady was glad that the guest liked everything. She was looking forward to talking about the past. The lady was surprised that she remembered how they had once met. They were talking about their daughter's marriage. The lady was very worried about many things. Felt terrible when she remembered the events of the past. Then she understands that her son will also soon get married. They have not yet decided on the engagement, but she expects that he will marry the daughter of Count Bernard. The Marchioness noticed that her daughter was a young and elegant lady, so she believed that her son would be a perfect match for her and that they would complement each other. However, the lady noted that she was worried that her son could not bring himself to get engaged. She was surprised and asked again. The Duchess thought that he wanted to demonstrate his success in business before the wedding. Talk to your son about the deal with the Marquise. She rose that it will bring her great benefit, and thinks that she has already guessed that she wants to talk about this deal with her personally. The Marquise confirmed this and also noted that she was quite happy to talk about anything. The Marquise guessed everything as soon as she received the invitation because she immediately understood that it was all because of the sale of the mine. There is a villa in Crimdal where she went every year with her husband. She recalled how he told her that the flowers growing around the lake looked like rings, and every time he looked at them he wanted to marry her again and again. The lady agreed with him that these flowers were truly magnificent. Night from a small one, he will increase support for artists, increase investments in the theater. Soon she would be able to enjoy new performances. The wife was very pleased and told him that she was looking forward to it. But soon he reported that there were some problems with the theater. Well, it's not that serious. Where is the responsible? Something happened, and in any case, I think he will have to borrow. He said he was sorry. Then Marilyn thought that her husband was a romantic, but he couldn't count money at all. The Duchess was right. In order for the territories to prosper, selling the mine would be the right decision. However, every time she remembers that her husband told her that looking at these flowers, he wants to marry her again and again. She didn't understand how she could throw away these memories with her own hands, so she told the Duchess that she understood her, but that it was not an easy decision to dispose of the land she had received from her parents. She planned to discuss the deal in 3 years when her son grows up, and she is also deeply worried, so she hopes that the lady will understand her and understand her situation. Of course, the Duchess would not stir it up, so the Countess remarked that the lady was very kind to her and that the flowers and tea were really magnificent. The lady remembered that Miss Lasser was in charge of the flowers today, so she reported it. She is the daughter of Baron Lasser of the North. She has been working as her nurse for several months and is well versed in plants. Then the girl came into the room and bowed to the lady. The Marquise was simply delighted and noted that the girl had an incredible talent. Euphemia was very grateful. In truth, she was worried because of the rumors that the Duchess was healthy, so she was very happy to see her in good health, and it was all thanks to this girl. Excellent, so the lady said that she had to take her leave. The Duchess said goodbye to her and remarked that they would meet next time. Suddenly, when the lady was already getting into her carriage, Euphemia called her. The lady was surprised and turned back. Euphemia stood there with a bouquet and noted that although it was a small gift, she had prepared it for her. The lady was simply delighted and didn't even know what to say because she really likes these flowers. The lady was shocked that she brought lotuses here. However, if they are picked, they quickly die. The lotus requires special care, so the lady did not understand at all what she should do. Euphemia told the lady that all flowers will inevitably wither someday, even if they are not picked. And then they will bloom again, but the flowers themselves will be different. The lady still agreed with her that she was right. However, even though the flowers will be different when she looks at them, she will find herself floating in old memories. Happy days pass, but they remain forever in the heart, so she prepared lotuses for her in the hope that they would bring her joy. The lotuses are her memories, so the lady is very grateful to the girl, and she noted that she was very pleased with such a gift. But the Marquise wonders if she knows that the nostalgia of these flowers could have consequences for Feridith's family. Euphemia confirmed this and noted that this was what she was trying to achieve. The lady understood and said that in that case, she would already be leaving. She thanked Miss Lasser for her care of Anya today in every way and suggested that they have tea together next time. The girl, of course, was not against it, and after that the carriage quickly left. The lotuses were the last hope. Euphemia understood that in this way, the Marquise would never give up the mine until she lost interest in those lands, but there had to be a way. She sighed because she understood that no matter how much people loved each other, separation was inevitable. She also remembered herself as a little girl standing at her mother's funeral. However, the memories of time spent together will never be erased from memory. The end of love is separation. But wonderful memories will remain in the hearts of loving people and will make them live, giving them strength to move on. Therefore, the lady hopes that these feelings will come to the Marquise too, but she wondered whether she would be able to see him today. The servant informed the master that they had received news from the Marchioness of Orphan. She had reconsidered her decision on mining in a positive direction. Cassius was in full agreement with me and asked him to repeat what he had just said. She added a few conditions she was willing to fulfill, others according to the original agreement, and said that she would schedule another meeting for a more detailed discussion. The gentleman was in complete shock and leafed through the letter because he was interested in what the conditions were. They should not harm the environment, not pollute, and carefully maintain the quality of water and the ecosystem of the nearby lake. The gentleman noted that she was some kind of crazy and did not understand that she knew anything about the mining industry because she thought that they would be making some kind of sand cakes there. The assistant thought she was telling me about numbers, but she was asking him to do it as carefully as possible and the best he could. It would be enough to take her words sincerely. These conditions irritate the gentleman a little, but in any case, it seems that the mother was persuaded and changed the Marquise's mind in his favor. Cassius's decision to change the negotiator turned out to be the right one, so he turned to Vincent and asked him to send a man to the residence of the Marquise of Orphan. The assistant understood him. The gentleman noted that if she made an appointment before that, he would come, so he asked to convey that the sooner the better. The guy beamed with a smile. A few days later, the Opera House Hall. There was noise and hubbub because there were so many visitors. The guy decided to tell that he plans to get married next year. It will finally happen. His friend is home that for some time he will have to become diligent. The Marquis said that this was what a good man like him should do. Another friend of his asked if the engagement lasted several years because he was surprised that everything was not like everyone else. Cassius just wanted to go home. The Marquis asked when his engagement would be. The Duke coldly replied that there would never be one. The guy was shocked and began to ask why, because his engagement to Juliet and Bernard was already being talked about at every reception. Rumors are circulating that Duke Feridith is going to marry the best girl, Aleph. His friend has remarked that if a lady wants to get the best duke for a husband, she should be like Juliet. And suddenly the Marquise remembered that perhaps it was all because of that girl. After all, it was on her that he bet 5,000. That's why the guy thought that his friend had a fight with Juliet Bernard from her. Cassius did not understand why he had to quarrel with Juliet Bernard for such a reason. The guy noticed that he didn't deny it, and he also said that he was surprised that he seriously didn't want to get married because of that girl. Cassius briefly replied that it was none of his business, and the guys were very surprised that he really didn't deny it. The Marquis began to laugh because Feridith Cassius would not marry for love, but the boy asked him to shut his mouth. The guy thought that this was really absurd because he had to stop quickly, otherwise he would lose 5,000. The gentleman repeated that he had told him to shut up and was already looking at him with a menacing look. After that, Polina was exhausted along with him. The Duke noticed that they all irritated him. The guy told him to cool down, but he told them to stop. Also pushed his hand away and said that he didn't want to hear any jokes. He will give everyone 5,000 just to end the dispute. He got up from the table, and the Marquis asked again what he was talking about. Cassius said he would end this before he did any more stupid things, so he is leaving now. The Marquis became a little nervous because he did not expect this and could not believe that he was seriously doing this. Everyone started clapping because the show of the century was about to begin, and they had all been waiting for it for a long time. Todd started to babble all sorts of nonsense, the gentleman noticed, because it was very light at night, and remembered that the moon was bright then too. At night, on the streets of Mars, when he was walking with his mistress, but it was very difficult for him to fight these thoughts. Now all thoughts end with Euphemia Lasser. Last time he was so caught up in the atmosphere that he couldn't say anything. Well, the next time they meet, he will definitely tell her everything. And suddenly he noticed a jewelry store, so he decided to look in. The gentleman asked him a bunch of times to stop that one because he needed to go into the store. The maid was simply delighted that Miss had a new hair ornament. Euphemia confirmed the maid began to say that it suited her very well and that she was a real beauty. The maid thought that she had received it as a gift from him, and she was very upset that it was a gift, but the mistress did not understand what she was talking about. Someone had hugged her before. Euphemia shuddered when she heard about it. She received a gift this morning. The girl can't answer that the maid saw them. Sirius really gave her the jewelry, but she doesn't understand how to get out of this whole situation. The maid told her not to worry. What kind of play was this where the Duke's assistant fell in love with the nurse? Lyoshka promised that she wouldn't tell anyone about this because it was very romantic. To keep her love safe, I definitely need an assistant, so she asks the mistress to rely on her. The girl thought that the power of love is very necessary. Euphemia couldn't understand what was on her mind. Emily came up behind her and asked what they were talking about. The lady greeted him. The maid shouted that it was nothing and remarked that she had completely forgotten that she needed to go faster to help Mrs. Helen. Emil noticed that the maid Lily was still full of energy today. The lady had courage and did not dare to argue with him because she was an incredibly energetic child. The gentleman said that he needed to talk to the miss about medicine, so he suggested that she go to the doctor's. The lady agreed, nodding to him. He suggested that they study the combination of ingredients in this medicine together. Emil prescribed it to one patient with a cough, and his condition improved, but it turned out to have side effects. Euphemia was surprised and asked what kind. A few hours after taking the medicine, the eye color changes, and the patient said that after a few days, everything returns to normal. Euphemia thought his eyesight had gotten worse, but on the contrary, it had improved a lot, but it depended on his mood. There must have been some mutations in his body, and he didn't know exactly what. But he just wanted the lady to check the combination of ingredients again. The lady was not against it and said that she would carefully mix the ingredients used and check one by one. It is necessary to check how each one works. Therefore, Emil wants to tell her something. Today they brought from the East many medicinal herbs, and they say that the person who brought the herbs is an expert in this matter. So he asked her what she thought about going to the pharmacy together. The lady was surprised and asked again if he was talking about going to the pharmacy. The importer would be sorting herbs for a few more days, so he thought it would be a good idea to talk to him, and maybe she would learn something useful. On Sundays, the Duchess goes to church and he thinks that they might have enough time then. Euphemia thought about it and realized that she really wanted to learn more about the medicinal herbs of the East. For her, it was a new area, so she agreed and said that she would ask the Duchess for permission. The gentleman decided to bet that they had agreed. With a smile, he said goodbye to her. When they arrived, the lady asked a lot of questions. Yellow lotus is used to relieve inflammation in the respiratory tract. The lady felt a sharp smell and believed that it was needed to relieve fever. Then the gentleman noticed that she really knew a lot. Euphemia asked if it could be used with herbs during tea drinking. Emil couldn't get enough of how diligently the lady listened to him and wrote everything down in her notebook. The gentleman was very glad that they came, so he asked her to do it again. The time in the drugstore flew by very quickly, but she learned a lot of new things. She was very grateful to him for suggesting that she go there, but Emil thought that there was no need to thank him because he was very happy to help her. Then it seemed to be lunchtime, so he suggested that she come back and eat. Emil noted that if they returned now, they would most likely be late, and there was a restaurant nearby. Come to think of it, it was really late, and she was a little sad because the Duchess had finally given her the day off. The Lord agreed and said that if he did not mind, she would invite him to have lunch together. In that case, Emil pointed out where they should go. The lady thought it might be the holiday, but Island Street looked magnificent, and Emil noticed that it was becoming more and more beautiful every day. Suddenly, the lady remembered that Emil had said that he had studied at the university. The gentleman nodded his head in confirmation and added that he had graduated from the medical faculty. He also decided to tell his sisters that it would be extremely difficult for him, so the lady was very surprised that he had an older sister. Emil himself noted that his older sister really was a wonderful person, but the lady shuddered and did not understand why he said that she was and not is. Emil noted that even though she is not in this world now, he thinks that she is very glad that everything is fine with him. Euphemia was sure that this was indeed the case. Now she knew that Mr. Emile also had his own dear memories. That's why the lady smiled at him, so that he could somehow feel better with these memories. Emile decided to change the subject, so he asked Mrs. if she knew that Mr. Anderson loved the Duchess. Euphemia was very surprised, and asked again if it was true. Last time Emile thought he was mistaken, but he was not. The lady was very surprised. After the conversation, she noted that she was very full, and also noted that next time she would pay Emile Gavrilov that it is not worth doing. While they were walking, she noticed that a lady she knew was coming out sooner. This is the Marchioness of Orphan. The lady was delighted, for they had met Mrs. Lasserre again. The lady was passing by and saw her, so she asked about having tea together, as they had agreed. Euphemia turned to Emile because she wanted to tell him about it, but he heard everything himself and said that he would go and leave the basket at the Duke's residence. Emile bowed, for he was glad to meet the Marquise. The lady noticed that she was too, and was also grateful that he was leaving Euphemia with her. The Marquise thought it was a little unexpected, but the lady assured her that she was always glad to see her. The flowers she gave her were almost wilted, and she thought they should enjoy some tea together while they were still crawling out. Euphemia remembered those lotuses, so she told Miss that she would be happy to have some tea. The lady was grateful to the Marchioness for the tea, but the lady said that it was not worth it, because she had given her a more precious gift in the form of flowers. The Marquise also noted that they say that flowers inevitably fade, and this is true. Flowers will wither in any case. Then new ones will appear, but they will be different. However, the memories given will remain. The lady noted that everything was exactly like that, and she understood everything, but she really didn't want them to start with work in that place. The development of the mine would bring benefits to both her and the Duke of Faraday, as well as a good opportunity for the nearby residents. After that, the Marquise asked if she knew why she sold the mine. The girl said that she was aware of this. The Marquise said that it was just a good decision, and for her the place was full of memories, so she hesitated in her decision. Everyone knows about it. But she was so considerate and tactful, so carefully hinted to her that there was no need to be stubborn and keep memories of a person who had already left behind fleeting and useless feelings. Someone might think that maybe it's all because of this, but she can say that it is so, and the signing of the contract is entirely her merit. The girl blushed at this. She was very grateful that she had generously accepted her self-made remarks. The Marquise remarked that after signing the documents, she would go to Crimdel and dig up lotus bulbs and plant them in the lake. They will look incredibly beautiful every summer. The Marchioness agreed with her, however, as she knows lotuses are very fastidious in care, and since she knows a lot about flowers, she asks her to give her a few lessons on caring for them. Euphemia was willing to help her as much as she wanted. The Marquise was surprised because she knew so much, so she asked how the girl learned it. The girl said that her late mother loved flowers very much and she taught her everything. Now the lady understood that her mother had done all this. So she noticed that her mother had left her a good legacy, and then she thought that she had come to the island and become a nurse. Meanwhile, a servant came in and apologized for disturbing Madame, but Duke Faraday arrived. The Marquise noticed that time was flying by. Euphemia first got up. I said that she probably had many obligations, and she distracted me, so with her permission she would leave. The lady said that everything was fine, so I shouldn't hurry too much because he was already a familiar person. She told Roland to conduct the Duke's drawing room. Euphemia was confused because they met in such a place, and she thought that Sirius also came with the Duke. Then she saw Sirius in front of her and already began to say something to him, but the Marchioness interrupted her because she was greeting the Duke. The girl thought about what the Marquise had just said and shuddered. The Marchioness noted that Miss Lasserre had stopped by chance. They had met during the day and were passing the time over tea. The girl was surprised and asked again if this man was a duke. The Marchioness confirmed this. The Marchioness thought it was just her habit to call him Sir Cassius. Well, he was Mr. Sirius. And then the lady realized that it seemed that Sirius was Cassius Faraday. The gentleman asked that she wait with him until he discussed what she was doing with her Marquise, and then they needed to talk. The Marquise did not understand at all why there was such tension between the two of them and what was happening at all. An heir who is about to be engaged should not be friends with a beautiful, noble lady. The Marquise remarked that if they were to discuss the treaty with the Duke, now Euphemia was grateful for the hospitality. The Marquise was always glad and noted that she meant the next meeting and would invite her. She also asked the butler to take the miss home. The gentleman bowed and began to carry out the order. He showed her where to go. Suddenly, the Duke grabbed her hand and asked her to wait a little and offered to go to the palace together. He said that the meeting would take a little time, but the girl shouted that she did not agree. She pulled her hand away from him and then got really scared because she yelled at him. Euphemia said that everything is fine. She wants to go now. She is not feeling well, so she wants to go home quickly and rest. The Duke asked Vincent to take the miss to the carriage he arrived in. He will be back soon, so he asks to take care of her. Vincent asked the miss to follow him because he wanted to take her to the carriage. The Marchioness asked if the lady was okay because she looked a little strange. Euphemia wanted to refuse, but she couldn't argue here anymore, so she told her that everything was fine and said goodbye to her. She rode in the carriage and thought about Duke Cassius Feridith Cold, and ugly heir to the Feridith Duchy. It is as if a golden name emerged from myths, inspiring fear and admiration in many people. He deceived her, posing as Sirius Delmar as the Duke's assistant. Well, the lady didn't understand why he deceived her, and whether he was sincere with her at all. She didn't understand at all why he did this, and remembered how they spent time together. Euphemia didn't understand why, and in her thoughts she saw him, after which she began to fall because the ground collapsed. She just can't believe it, but she needs to calm down because now she needs to think about what to do next. She can't cry, it's so new. She can't be sad because of expectations that weren't met. It's been a long time, so she doesn't understand why they haven't left yet. The lady opened the doors and asked Mr. Vincent when they would be leaving. The gentleman came closer to her and said that he apologized, but there was only one carriage, so they would have to wait for the Duke. Now the girl understood what was meant by the words to take care of her. He just wanted to keep her. She didn't understand how much more he was going to charge her, so she jumped out and said she would walk. The man was shouting at her to stop because the weather was bad, but the girl didn't listen to him. She didn't care at all right now. Then the Duke himself ran in from the palace and called her, after which he appeared right in front of her. She noticed that he was all covered in shit, but asked him to move away from her. The gentleman once again suggested that they go together, but the lady repeated once more that she had told him to step aside. But the gentleman said that he couldn't because it was raining and he didn't understand how she could go home alone. He practically begged her to go together, and she listened to him. Cassius knows she is angry, but asks her to listen to him. The gentleman tearfully begged her not to refuse him because he had to tell her everything. The Duke did not understand at all how all this happened, and he did not think that Euphemia would be sitting opposite him. He didn't want her to find out about everything like that. In any case, he immediately signed a contract with the Marquise in order to escape here as quickly as possible. If the negotiations had dragged on like last time, Euphemia would have missed out. But that's not a bad thing. He gained time to prepare before telling everything. He noticed that she was ready for him to talk and listened to the story of how he lied to her. As she knows, the Duchess's health was deteriorating every day and the nurses changed countless times. And he had to find the best one. She was perfect, but he had to find out about his family and what kind of person she was. This is too much. If she had known right away that he was a duke, she would have tried with all her might to pretend to be decent. His carriages, clothes, manners, and beauty. It was all too much. It was all too much. And the lady did not understand at all why she did not notice it right away. She considered herself such a fool. The lady listened to him and remarked that there was indeed some sense in this, which made the Duke shudder. He thought it meant she understood, and the lady confirmed it, so he smiled. He was very happy about it. Things really weren't as bad as he thought, so he tried to give her his hand, but the lady slapped his hand and said that was all. The girl did not think that she would be able to fully accept this false relationship that the Duke had built with her under a false name. Cassius did not deceive her intentionally, so he asks her to consider forgiveness. He asked if she really did not accept his explanation. He had nothing more to hide from her. The lady asked him not to address her by name. She understood why he had initially concealed his identity. However, she felt that enough time had passed for him to realize that she was handling the transaction role well enough. The gentleman winced and confirmed her words, but if she knew that he was the heir to the duchy, it would stay away from him. And then the lady thought that perhaps it was because he was afraid of rumors, and they were the reason for this, that he deceived her for so long. Euphemia confirmed that she would have stayed on the side because he knew everything, that's why he lied to her. Cassius said that he tried to tell her she didn't. He thought about telling her the next time they met, but he was beaten to it. She thought that he might find it funny, but he still tried to justify himself somehow. The lady shouted at him to stop, and she asks him to stop because she doesn't want to listen to this anymore. She knows that in any case it's all a lie. The gentleman said again that he asks her to think about forgiveness again, and the lady was interested in why she should forgive him and why she should do it at all. The lady said that a person can make such a choice, but she is not that person. Want to tell the gentleman that they have arrived at the Duchy. When they quickly went out, the gentleman grabbed her hand and asked her to wait because he wanted to continue the conversation when she calmed down. But it began to be blown away by the wind because it was the spirit that was helping her. This sudden wind was completely untimely. The girl feels like a fool. She was so happy that at least someone treated her with soul. He knew that she liked him. She was pleased to hope that she would not be alone. But how much she liked this trinket he does not even know. So she took it off because she was ashamed because she was so pathetic, and she didn't understand how he could think that way. There is such a heavy rain outside. The Duchess thought that everything went as he wanted, but it seems that something is bothering him. Cassius said that I was nothing of the sort. The Duchess remarked that she had heard that he had returned home with Euphemia. The guy said that he came to the Marquise and she was already there. They met by chance and went back together. The lady noted that it turned out that he had revealed his identity to her. Cassius said she felt unwell, but it didn't matter. That was good. The rest was nothing. In any case, thanks to the efforts of the nurse and the doctor, her health has improved, so she will be present at the ceremony. Cassius was wondering if she was okay. She had been cut off from social life for a while, and if his wife wanted to have a child of her own, she needed to take the matter more seriously, so she asked him to forgive her inattention due to her long illness. He thought that his father would be there too, but the Lord said that he would not be able to because he was working in the flesh for a share of his festival. The guy then suggested getting ready. The lady was not at all against it. He asked if the lady was planning to take Miss Lasserre with her. The Duchess doesn't know. It will all depend on her physical condition. The master understood her, and Mother asked him to stop worrying about Euphemia. Funny little things, he just told her the truth so she didn't want him to think about what happened anymore. Members of the Imperial family will be present at the ceremony, so all aristocrats must come. Cassius thought about Euphemia. He realized that he had screwed up, so he felt very bad. Euphemia's eyes were swollen, and her face had turned pale. She had always been like this when she lived with the Baron, but she had already managed to get out of the habit. Perhaps the lady simply got used to the changes that had taken place over the past few months. How else, leaving her useless memories in the past, she will live on as if nothing had happened. The girl decided she would do it again. She gave the Duchess her morning medicine and a massage, but she still looked lethargic. Perhaps it was the rain. Emile and Anderson are not here today, so she needs to go and brew some medicinal tea herself to make the lady feel better. The Duke approached her and asked her if they could talk. The lady refused him and remarked that she had no time to share with the Duke. The gentleman noticed that he had it, so he followed her. He watched her cooking something there. He understood that if he were serious, she would have told him what she was doing and described every step. If he had revealed his entire personal life from the very beginning, then perhaps everything would have turned out differently. However, if he did that, Euphemia would not open her heart to him. Well, now he has nothing to hide from her. Probably this is the course of events, and even better. So she turned to her commas, noted that it seems she is in a good mood today. He felt like she had calmed down, and it was a relief to him, so he smiled at her. The lady told him that it would be strange to be surprised for the second day in a row. Cassius decided to act immediately and asked how about understanding and forgiving him. At first, the lady remained silent, but then firmly replied that this would not happen and that she refused him, so she asked him to leave. Cassius continued to apologize for lying, but he was surprised that she was not interested in why he lied to her. Euphemia noted that he had already said that he wanted to find the perfect nurse, but he began to say that it was not because of that. This made the girl very angry, so she hit the table and turned to the gentleman. She asked him to stop playing with her. Cassius said that he was not playing with her. The lady noticed that this is exactly what he does, so she asks him to stop making her angry. With a smile, the gentleman asked her not to be angry, and finally she looked at him and their eyes met. He feels such bliss. I meet her gaze. It seems like he has gone crazy. For Duke Feridith to be crazy about a woman is just crazy, but he likes it. She may be acting cold and wary now as if she were frozen, but the ice is thin and melts quickly in the sun. Her thorns are just like a defense mechanism, so he has to protect her and she has to understand him. Cassius decided that he would force her to accept him because he loved her. He confessed to her that he really liked her. This made the lady jump up. The gentleman said that he did this because he liked her. Therefore he asks her to ask him. The lady's hands began to shake and she began to laugh. He doesn't even know how lucky he is to be the heir to the duchy. If he doesn't know about it, then she will fly a glass of water at him and will hit his smiling face. The lady remarked that it was so surprising she was amazed at how he could lie so confidently without even blinking an eye. The gentleman sighed. Euphemia told him that he could no longer play with her feelings, so she asked him to leave her. It was a waste of time, and time was more valuable than gold. He asked Mrs. Anya to misunderstand him. He had no intention of playing with her in the first place. The lady told him that he was too good at lying. The gentleman swore that he was truly and sincerely in love with her. The lady said that if he says that he loves her so sincerely and she understood him if that's all, then she now asks him to leave. The gentleman believed that she should accept him, but she, the lady, did not understand why she should do this. At first the gentleman thought about it, then she said that it was all because she was also in love with him. The lady turned to him and asked if he was going to continue this comedy further and called him Sirius. If he were sincere, he would have admitted it long ago. He had plenty of opportunities, but he didn't take advantage of them, and so she confirmed that it was only his choice. The gentleman said that he did use it, but the lady did not understand. When it happened, she was already furious. He recounted what it was like when he held her hand and spoke of support. He thought that at that moment she understood him. And when he invited her for a walk, it is clear that he did not want to get to know better what a good nurse she was. Euphemia said that everything he did was just mockery. The lady was already in tears. She begged him not to try to persuade her now, and after that there was silence. Cassius said that he simply did not know, which made the lady shudder because she was in a state of shock. The gentleman said that, to tell the truth, he could not even imagine that she would cuckold him then. If he did not care about her, he would have told her about his status right away. That's why he couldn't react in time and didn't want to lose her? That's his truth. He never wanted to play with her, so he asks her for forgiveness again. He begged her very much, but the lady refused him once more. After that, silence followed again. The gentleman walked away from her and said that he understood. He promised that he would not bother her any more today. This is an obvious reaction. They will have to start all over again. You don't have to give up if you want to get something, that's the rule. This time he will call me to let winter chill his feelings and will fight until the flowers bloom with the arrival of spring. Cassius is sure that then she will be able to accept him again. Emile said he was worried about the prolonged rain, but the condition of the medicinal herbs is better than he expected. The lady agreed with him, and he also asked how the conversation with the Duke had gone. Euphemia said that everything was fine. Emile suspected something, so he thought that something had happened, and the lady confirmed it by accident, and then shuddered and asked again. The gentleman noticed that she looked pale. Something seemed to be bothering her. The lady said that no, and nothing was bothering her. Later, she wants to check if Miss Lily remembered all the names of the herbs, so she thought a little, and so she just has his forgiveness. Emile said that everything was fine. Being a teacher was not so easy. He added that the foreign herbs would arrive the day after tomorrow. Miss Lily would need a lot of time to remember everything. The lady agreed with him. The Duke was watching all this and was very angry. Meanwhile, they moved on to studying the rites. Euphemia said that she was doing well, so the girl was very happy because she was praised. She thought there would be more next time and also noticed that ladies' hair ornaments were different again. She quickly confirmed that she had been wearing this decoration for a long time and that it was more comfortable for her. Lily understood her. She remarked that she wanted to say something because she felt that the maid had misunderstood everything, but it was simply a gift she had received in return for hers. Lilia said that she understood everything perfectly, but she herself thought that the lady and the Duke were very suitable for each other. Well, the Duke has a fiancé, so they will have to part, and that makes her sad. And yet, this ribbon that the Duke gave her was very beautiful, so the maid thought that he had excellent taste. The lady assumed that the maid knew the Duke well. The girl asked again and then remarked that of course she knew the Duke well. Euphemia asked how well she knew him. The girl said that he was the heir of the Faraday family and a duke, so incredible that people thought he was the god of the sun. His business is always booming. Many girls stick to him, but he treats everyone coldly. But in fact, when she saw him comforting her last time, she thought that he had a kind side. This happened when she learned that her people no longer existed. The maid said that, in any case, it was so cool that he was so popular, and there was no one more attractive than their master. Meanwhile, he came out of the bushes and thanked the maid for such words. Lily was very scared, but the gentleman told her that everything was fine and that she shouldn't be so scared and worried. Euphemia asked the gentleman if he needed anything. The gentleman told her that he wanted to take a walk and listen to a story about the herb his mother was taking. She already said that the attending physician, Mr. Anderson, could do this, but the gentleman decided that he sent her to him. The maid immediately ran away and said that she was leaving, and the master noticed that she was quite smart. However, he wanted to ask the lady why she listened to praise about him. The maid had told her what kind of man this Duke was. Euphemia remained silent in response. Afterwards, she said that she just found it funny to hear about him. Everyone knows about him all the time, but while she was listening, thought it was funny that she didn't know anything at all. The gentleman turned to her and asked why people were so strange. It was all because of him. Euphemia didn't want to continue this, so she told him that she had things to do, so she would go. The guy didn't understand what other business there was. If she was talking about helping the Duchess, then she could stay. She quickly reported that Emile was waiting for her to fill out medical records. The gentleman frowned and asked again, then remembered that this was Anderson's student. The doctor Euphemia had been chatting with in the garden. He asked if this was really more important to her than talking to him. The lady asked if there was really a reason why she should not go. Cassius replied that of course not. If anything, he liked her. The lady sighed and asked how much longer his lies would continue. The gentleman was shocked because she was home again that he was laughing at her. The lady remembered all the moments with him and answered that it was not so. Cassius tried to convey to her that his feelings for her were real. But the lady only replied that, frankly speaking, it was already tiring her. The lady did not understand what kind of reaction this was and whether he was truly offended. She could not believe it. So she said that, moreover, even if he was telling the truth, she didn't think he should express himself that way since he was engaged. She is clearly not an option for him if he wants to become the head of the house. This insults and humiliates him. He doesn't want to feel that way. The gentleman told her that he won't marry her. It seems his mother didn't tell her he thought that if he didn't get married, then everything was fine. The lady asked him not to cause her troubles. Cassius asked whether she would have answered the same way if he had said that he would not marry for her sake. This would put her in an even more awkward position, but the gentleman said that his wishes did not mean that she should feel burdened. But the lady assured him that it was really a burden to her. Cassius apologized if that was really the case. She already wanted him to stop apologizing and say that the Duchess would soon start looking for her and she had to go. She doesn't understand at all what he's thinking, because this man really doesn't know how to be sincere. In about 2 days, she is going to attend the audience ball. The Owenza ceremony is attended annually by children of noble families who are making their debut in social life. The event signifies that a person becomes a member of society by receiving an audience with Emperor Buddha. Only nobles who have received permission may enter the Imperial palace. The lady noted that Anderson had told her that if she was in good condition, she would be able to go, so she asked the nurse what she thought about that. Euphemia noted that she was of the same opinion. The Duchess was grateful for the answer and noted that if she remained in society, then she would have to attend a social event. At least once social activities were important. Because of her illness, she abstained for a time from unnecessary outings, but since Cassius was not delighted with the marriage, the lady thinks she should go out and send a proper signal to your company, a signal that Duke Feridith and Countess Bernard are about to be married. The lady noted that her son would accompany her, and she also informed her that she too was forced to attend this ball. Euphemia was in complete shock and asked again. Anderson said that if something happened to her in the banquet hall, someone needed to be nearby to take care of her. Euphemia is a good girl, but she can't keep her in the mansion forever for herself. She will take the opportunity and introduce her to society. It would be good to find a worthy marriage partner, marry this one, and keep her close to her. The partner may be one of the members of a noble family. For a wealthy middle-class man, the girl would be suitable since she is of noble origin. Although it is not to say that Baron Lasser has anything to be proud of, Euphemia herself is a valuable and impeccable resource. Even if she remains her nurse, she will not be ashamed, and being connected to the Duchy with the status and wives, she will be cherished and protected. The girl said that she understood the lady noted that since the event is official, she should take care of her outfit. She has a feeling that she needs to find a partner as soon as possible. The lady asked her to bear in mind that although she was not an invited guest, she was her nurse and a lady who had come from the Baron's house. The lady did not understand why she was so surprised. Being her nurse, she remains of noble origin, and even when she goes to the ball, her job is only to help her, so Euphemia needs to remember only this. Going to the ball as a ram's daughter and not as a nurse is unexpected, but she doesn't mind and is very grateful for such attention from the lady. The dress had to look neat. The designer was coming tomorrow, so the lady suggested that she come too. The lady was very grateful for the concern, but said that she could prepare the outfit herself. The Duchess said that she would help and let such a thing not burden her, but the girl said that she was very happy, but would do everything herself. The lady thought that this was really a reasonable choice. If she were to wear a dress from the same designer as the mistress, she might have problems which would put their relationship on display, so the Duchess did not mind. She really likes this young lady. The audience is the most grand event among social events. A couple who decides to get married brags about their choice and announces the news to the public, while those who haven't found a partner yet will be looking all evening. The gentleman asked his assistant if there was any news and how did Mrs. Euphemia take it. Vincent's assistant reported that she had asked for extra money for the dress. The Duke asked how much it had cost. He said that it was enough to buy a dress in a noble boutique. The gentleman understood that if she had money for an expensive dress, then no one would force her to be a nurse. In any case, it seems that the mother is trying to put Euphemia on the floor as if she were in a marriage market. Any noble lady who appears under the protection of the Duchess becomes at least her ward. Bored people are always hungry for provocative rumors, so everyone will be interested in who that young nurse will marry. She probably wants to find a marriage partner for the girl and keep her close to her, which is the concern of an aristocratic lady. The gentleman remarked that he did not like it, but his assistant merely sighed without answering him. Even the cold-blooded gentleman has a soft and delicate side just like any other person, but the young girl is not so simple either. Perhaps she is actually a fairy. The thought of the young lady being exposed to the public must make him feel rather uneasy. His master was sad and understood that she was not thinking about marriage. The master believed that Euphemia had already looked into the boutique. If she wanted to meet the deadline, she should already decide with him. Vincent noted that, not yet, but perhaps she has not yet found a suitable place. It makes sense in those shops where she usually dresses, secretly, sell fashionable dresses. Then he decided to do the following. First, he had to check the schedule. Meanwhile, the girl realized that she seemed to have forgotten something. By the way, she hasn't seen that man even once today. Every day he came apologized and said that he liked her persistently, begged. In fact, he now looks more like a busy Sirius for some reason. She even worries that she did not see him today. She met Mr. Hans with her friend. It seems he has finally started treating her like a servant. She doesn't want anything more to do with him because he hurt her. Well, every time he asked her to forgive him and said that he liked her, she experienced mixed feelings and some joy, although she believes that it was not sincere. It's so contradictory. Even if it's all true, she doesn't understand how she can be with the heir of the ducal family being the daughter of a baron. Even if they are equally noble, they are different like heaven and earth. Even if Cassius said that he would not be engaged to Juliet, she is not sure that the Duchess will agree with this. Whether he's lying or not, she doesn't want to be hurt anymore. Suddenly, the Duke called her and asked why she was late. The lady informed him that she had a lot of work. The gentleman heard that she was going to a ball, so she needed to prepare a dress. Cassius was wondering whether she had it or not. The lady shook her head and said that the Duke should not worry about such things. The gentleman realized that this meant that she had not prepared it, so he decided to give her a gift. He said that these were gifts for her and there was not much here, but he thought that he could help her, so he asked her to open it. Euphemia didn't understand how she could accept such a gift from the Duke. The Duke thought it was not strange to give a gift to a person you wanted to please. He wanted her to choose it herself to her taste. but she looked very busy. So he chose the one that he thinks will suit her, so he wants to see if she likes it. The dress that Cassius found for her looks luxurious and expensive, even just being in the box. There is no way she could afford such a dress on the allowance from the Duchess. So she said she wouldn't accept it. Cassius said he wanted to win her back. He had a good reason for it, and the dresses he gave her were worth wearing. The lady was very embarrassed when he took her hand. The gentleman only continued to ask her to accept this gift. Euphemia had no choice but to take this gift. The dress is very fast. They are so soft and gentle, it seems like from a fairy tale. They are all very beautiful. I even like their spirit. Probably the craftsman spent a lot of time making the dresses, and she was already at a loss as to how to prepare for the ball. But Cassius prepared a dress for her. Just for her, especially for her. 2 weeks later, the day of the reception, the young master was informed that the lady and mistress would soon be down. The mining contract was signed successfully with the Marquise. Everything is going according to his plan. The gentleman was sparkling. Well, he was shaking. He asked her several times if she liked Euphemia's dresses and which one she eventually chose. But she only said that the dress was good but did not give a specific answer. He was very interested in what kind of dress she had made, and suddenly someone approached him. It was his mother who told him that they could already leave. When the gentleman saw her, he was very upset because this dress was not one of those he gave her. 3 days before the reception, the maid provided the lady with the dress she asked for. The magpie noted that since she had to accompany the Duchess to the reception, she chose a comfortable dress. This is all Helen can do, and so she asks that she accept this as a token of her gratitude. The headdress will go well with the dress. Euphemia was very grateful and noted that she now had a beautiful decoration. The girl noted that in the village it is not customary to thank out loud, so she even felt a little embarrassed. Yes, she also added that she was very grateful to her for this advice as well. The dress I gave you is gorgeous, but it's too fancy for her. Plus, if she wears his dress, he'll think she's forgiven him, and eventually she'll have to forgive him. Since he has put so much effort into finding dresses, she assumes he is sincere, and she wants to believe it. She had a weak desire to trust his kindness, but she was determined not to do so, and all the emotions and expectations mixed together, and a wave overtook her, corroding her heart. If she can forgive him, she doesn't know what will happen next. She decided that no, given the future she had planned, she would not be able to forgive him. She doesn't believe in his sincerity. She doesn't believe it because he's telling the truth, because she simply can't forgive him. Mother told her son that they were ready to leave. Euphemia noticed his expression. It was obvious that he was upset, but he turned away and said that the Duchess looked just fine. The girl didn't understand why he was upset. She didn't wear the dress he gave her. The guy noticed that the lady seemed to be in a good mood. The Duchess remarked that she felt well today. She hurt him heartlessly, as if she controlled the heart of the magnificent Duke, whom everyone admired. Maybe this man is really sincere to her, but she constantly hesitates. When they arrived, they were introduced together, and it was added that Lady Lasserre was with them. Everyone immediately started complimenting her, saying they were very happy to see the Duchess. The family's arrival raised the level of the event. They say he looks like the late Duke. Even if his methods are not tears and blood, victory will definitely be his, but everyone is very interested in who that young lady is. Well, they didn't understand who she was and why they were checking the people with them, or maybe she was glad that the Duchess had arrived, or maybe the lady was surprised because she met her right away. She also greeted the mission with Bernard because they had not seen each other for a long time. The lady asked the Duke and Duchess how they were feeling. Lily was grateful to Mrs. and noticed that every time Juliet came to her, it gave her strength. They had done so much already, but she was glad that she had been able to please the lady, and the lady also noticed that she saw a young companion with her. The Duchess introduced Mrs. Euphemia Lasserre. She is the Baron's daughter and is courting her. They introduced themselves to each other, and the Baron's daughter bowed to her mistress. The Countess was pleased to meet them. Their meeting greatly surprised Juliet because she never thought that she would see her in such a place, but she is glad if she has any questions, then she can contact her. Euphemia was grateful, and the ladies noticed that the music had already started. The lady turned to her son and asked him to invite Juliet to dance. The boy thought about how hard it was for him to be a good son, so he went up to Lady Bernard and asked if she would do him the honor of dancing with him. Juliet was, of course, not against it, so his mother was very happy. The Countess suggested that she go and rest a little while the young people were dancing. The Duchess asked what the lady thought about having dinner together at the mansion. It was a wonderful idea, but before winter came, after some small talk, the lady asked that my lady take some cough medicine. The Duchess remarked that Juliet and Cassius looked simply wonderful together. The nurse was more than ever in agreement, for they suited each other very well. The lady cannot get the moment when they will stretch everything in the world must go on as usual. Euphemia did not know what to add. So his wish is glycerin for the rest of his life. She wants them to get married next spring or even this fall. Of course, marriage between two noble families is not so simple, but she wants them to get engaged this year and get married next year. She was very curious when her son's whims about this engagement would end. The lady raised that in any case, even if everything is delayed, the wedding will eventually take place. Euphemia asked the lady if the engagement was postponed. The lady said that her son had been busy opening a new store for some time. After finishing all the work, she thought that he would want to take care of Juliet. The girl understood everything, and the lady thought about what if you think about it. Cassius had that look when he looked at her nurse. She didn't want to think about it and believe what she thought, so the lady noticed that the girl had chosen a beautiful dress today. Euphemia was very grateful to the lady. The Duchess decided that this simply could not be. She simply saw and was surprised. She must have never seen such an expression on his face. She wondered if she could compete. How she became sharper, that's why she was getting useless thoughts. Juliet told the guy that he was leading. Well, the gentleman noted that this was great praise for him. If you think about it, he already danced with her at the ball, and this is not the first time. He noticed that he was thinking about something, and it was very nice for her to be standing here again. After so many years later, she hoped because he would remember this day with different thoughts. It seemed that her mother had not yet told her about the postponement of the engagement, so he simply smiled modestly. He decided to let it be so. It would have been better to end everything at the very beginning. It would have been easier for Juliet Bernard to find another partner for marriage if their relationship had not continued. They throw a tantrum after the marriage proposal. Juliet wanted to tell the Duke something about the second dance, but he said that he was worried about her mother's condition, so she would go and check on her. In fact, he was thinking about where Euphemia was now and was looking for her with his eyes. Finally, he found her. She was next to his mother and as beautiful as always. Suddenly, his friend the Marquise came up to him and greeted the Duke. This scared him and made him shudder. The Marquise thought he was still angry. Cassius asked why he was bothering his tongue if he knew about it. Marquez realized that he was still angry, so he admitted that he was desperate to hope for the young Duke's understanding because he sincerely wanted it. He really got me 5,000, and I didn't think he would really give it to him, but he's just incredible. I understood everything and asked if that was all. Luckily, that's not all. He has something else. He wonders why the Duchess suddenly came here because they made a lot of noise. His mother also came to say hello while she was dancing, so he wondered if he knew what she said. She said that the young Duke and the lady looked so good together. He did say that he was not going to get engaged to Bernard. The gentleman sighed and said that he would not. And the Marquis noted that it seemed that Bernard did not know about this, but the gentleman said that she would soon find out about everything. Marquez understood her and asked you how you could now tell him about the young lady who came with the Duchess. She is the most discussed topic today. He must know that occupying such a position, such a young and beautiful girl, will immediately become interesting to everyone. He told him to look because everyone was rushing to get to her here. Comes another one. It's getting crowded there. The guy said that he noticed that she had a unique eye color, so he was very curious about what kind of girl she was. Well, suddenly he noticed that the Duke had moved away from him and was immediately next to this girl. He noticed that at first the man who stood next to her was frightened, but then she began to peacefully talk with the gentleman. He couldn't verify that this girl was his 5,000, the Baron's daughter, Euphemia Lasser. The gentleman said that it was a great honor for him to meet her, so it was very red. All the ladies were also very pleased to meet her because they say that she sat like a duchess. She received so many questions that she couldn't even really hear what they needed from her. The gentleman said that he came to Aleph to learn the exact sciences, so he asked if the lady was interested in mathematics. He says that recently a new hypothesis has become widespread in the mathematical world. It concerns global problems and so on. There is still a lot of information that flew into her ear and flew out the other. The lady was very pleased to see her again. Quite a lot of time had passed since the last time, and by the way, she was going to stay on the islands until the summer festival, so he suggested that we meet again when she had time. Euphemia is very tired. She even met Countess Fraser here. She is getting very heavy. She does not even know there is anyone she has not yet greeted. Another man approached her and remarked that he impressed Duchess Feridith with her wisdom, leaving such a talented girl by his side. He said it would have been nice to meet her earlier, but he only got the chance to introduce himself now. He said he was saddened to think that there had been a time when he had not known her, but he had to thank the bulls for giving him the opportunity to meet her today. As a greeting, he asks her to give him a chance to kiss the back of her hand. But at the very moment when he was about to kiss her hand, the Duke approached them and asked the Count how his family was, and also noted that they had not seen each other for a long time. The man was very scared when he saw the Duke, who said that he had heard that his dairy business was doing very well lately. He immediately moved away from the girl and noted that he had heard so much about the gentleman. Despite this, his father was coping. The lady was glad because everything had turned out well, but suddenly the Duchess turned to her holding her head. The lady said that she had not communicated with so many people for a long time, and therefore she quickly got tired. She needed to rest a little. Euphemia helped her through. The Count said that he heard that the Duke has been very enthusiastic about opening a store lately, and the business of the dukedom is expanding. It is really amazing. The gentleman noted that this is so, and if they continue in the same spirit, the store will open soon. So if we talk about the opening itself, it has been postponed a little for now. Euphemia thought that meeting so many people today was just crazy. When she lived with the Baron, she was not allowed to do things like dance or social conversation. She was afraid of putting pressure on the Duchess with her behavior. She fortunately did not make any serious mistakes. Since she is a nurse, no one invited her to dance, and now she is being pampered in the Imperial palace. She didn't understand how such a beautiful and colorful world could be real. It was as if she had found herself in a fairy tale. Everything here was unfamiliar to her, but that man was magnificent and shining brightly among the huge crowd. A man who rises above everyone and is loved by everyone, has a unique charisma. She can't believe that this man is courting her. After all, there must be something wrong. His Majesty, the Emperor, Empress, and Crown Prince have arrived. The Duchess realized that she absolutely had to greet Her Majesty the Empress. That's why she told her nurse about it. It is against etiquette for me to be too close, so she asks the girl to stay close. The Duchess finally greeted the Empress. The Empress remarked that they had indeed not seen each other for a very long time. The Duchess exchanged greetings with Imperial Cheetah and made an appointment with Countess Bernard. Euphemia also greeted the people as best she could, so they did everything they had planned. It was time to go back. The girl thought it was a wise decision. She asked her son that they would go already and he could come later, but the gentleman said that he would go with him because without Euphemia, he has nothing to do here. Tell me, please, because he screwed up, because he must stay here. Cassius said he was worried because his mother looked so tired, and he didn't understand how he could enjoy the ball alone. Juliet came up and asked if the lady was going home already. The woman confirmed this because of the long absence from social events. She quickly gets tired and everything is already boring. Hello. You wished her a good journey and said goodbye until the next meeting. The carriage is ready so they can go. Now, Juliet was very surprised that the young Duke was also returning home because it was very early. The Duchess remarked that her son would remain. She told me that although he had not been here long, she asked him to stay with her a little longer. We, the gentleman said, had more important things to do than dance. So he apologized and said that they would see that next time. Juliet was upset. She noted that it would be nice if he stayed with Juliet for a little while longer. The guy didn't understand at all why he had to do this, and his mother was in complete shock and asked him again what he had just said. Cassius repeated once again that he did not understand why he should do this. His mother pointed out that Juliet was his fiancée. Cassius said that if only Miss Bernard's dream came true. He doesn't know if his mother will understand what he means if he says it directly. He wants to postpone his engagement to Juliet. He said so before. Emile asked the lady how she went to the ball, but she ignored him, so he asked again. Then the lady came out of her thoughts and noted that although the Duchess had not attended such events for a long time and was very tired, she had tried there longer than expected. Emile thought it was great last year. They couldn't even imagine that the Duchess could go out into society all thanks to her. Euphemia said that this was not the case, and she was grateful to the doctors for their hard work. Therefore, Emile noticed that she was rather modest. After which, the gentleman asked again if the ball had been fun. Euphemia said that the palace was indeed magnificent, but she felt awkward. Too many people. Everything was so unfamiliar. Emile noted that he too felt uncomfortable in places where he didn't know many people, but she did a great job. And by the way, he wanted to tell her that she looked really beautiful. The lady remarked that she wanted to match the palace. The ceiling painting and the furniture were very beautiful. But he wasn't talking about that, but Anderson immediately burst in and said that he had made them wait and therefore asked for forgiveness. Emile remarked that it seemed he had arrived too early. Anderson was surprised and asked again. It just seemed to him that she was late, and yet this time it worked out. Emile noted that they had a lot of work, so he was interested in how he had displeased his wife again. If someone hears, then think that he is always making mistakes somewhere. After that, he greeted the lady, and the lady greeted him. However, he asked them to listen to him. It was his wife's birthday recently. That day he had to visit a critical patient, so they didn't get to celebrate her birthday properly, and yet she seemed to understand that it was because of work, and didn't mind. But since then she became cold towards him. It was weird because they looked like her. As you know, she's just a human. Well, now she smiles, then gets angry. If he walks loudly at night, she will cry and say that he doesn't love her and doesn't care. Then he spent the whole night calming her down. Emile thought that maybe there was some other reason, but he didn't even know. It seemed like she was completely healthy. But her mood swings became more frequent, and her sleep got worse, and it was very strange. Euphemia asked me if she had accidentally become sensitive to the smell of food. Perhaps she was feeling a little nauseous. It seems she is not sick, but she really has become sensitive to smells. Sometimes she feels sick. And then the lady asked him if he thought she was pregnant. Of course it may not be, so the symptoms are very similar to the early stages of pregnancy, and he should check it. The gentleman couldn't believe it, because it hadn't worked for so many years and they had even given up. Lady and Emile didn't understand what was going on, but then they started smiling and talking about how it looked like they now had something to celebrate. It's good that the Duchess's examination ended quickly today. The teacher couldn't wait to rush home. That's right. You only need to prepare the medicine for fatigue that the Duchess usually takes. Anderson left work early. She approached Emile and said that the eye color change side effect he mentioned seemed to her to be related to the combination of the ballad leaves and blue mushrooms. Now he understood that, fortunately, it was not harmful to the body, but it could become an unexpected side effect, and therefore it was necessary to find a way to eliminate it. Emile thought it was amazing that the story of a failed birthday party had turned into news of a pregnancy. The lady realized that this is really... So, there are no problems with the ingredients. I understand it is the combination of positive that affects the body's diseases in breathing. Emile decided to ask when the lady's birthday was. She was very surprised and did not understand at once. She also talked about some mold and then asked again. She has already forgotten when this day is. No one has congratulated her for more than 10 years, so she does not remember. Only her mother congratulated her. There was a little comma left before her birthday, and at that moment the Duke was passing by. He entered the room. Emile and the lady immediately bowed to him and asked if something had happened that he had come here so abruptly. The gentleman asked if he needed to ask their permission to visit this or that room in his palace. Emile said that was not what he had in mind at all. The gentleman noticed a cold answer from him. The guy said that he came to see how to prepare medicine for his mother. At first, Emile was surprised, but of course he didn't mind. Perhaps the Duke just didn't like him. Because he doesn't understand at all why he is so obviously showing aggression towards him, Euphemia turned to Emile and noted that she thought he could go because she could finish everything here herself. She was very grateful to him for helping her. The gentleman quickly got ready and left the room. The lady noticed that the Duke was always busy and asked again if that was true. He did not answer, only cleared his throat. He came here to do guard duty. The lady noted that then he would stand all the time she needs to visit Mrs. Cassius returned to this conversation again and asked if she was still ready to forgive him. The lady did not understand at all what he wanted from her. The gentleman began because he had already spoken and asked to accept his love so many times that repeating it was simply pointless. It would be better to simply ask her to admit that she loves him too. Cassius laughed after this because she was so scared he thought she was alone here. It was still a person, so he got a little angry. He missed her and wanted to tell her that she looked beautiful at the ball. The lady reported that she would return the dress he had given her. It was not only too much for her, she would never be able to wear such luxurious clothes. Cassius was against it and told her to keep them for herself because there would be another opportunity to wear such things. When he would accompany her, therefore he did not want another man to be near her. Euphemia didn't understand at all why he was saying such reckless things. She didn't know what to answer him. But these words seem so terrible to her, but she thinks that he should study with someone more equal in status. Aristocrats signify harmony and union of families. No one in the duchy is supposed to act as he does. The gentleman asked if she was really jealous of him because he thought she was talking about that conversation in the carriage. Destiny is something he never needed or expected in his life. He says that when he discovers something like this for himself, he immediately understands that something is missing in his life. Only he doesn't know he lives peacefully, but as soon as he finds out he can't live without it for the rest of his life. For her, this man is destiny, but she says that they believe in it, but Cassius believes, because of him, believe me, not much time has passed since they met. Many months have already passed. If she needs more time, then they will continue to get to know each other further. The lady said that everyone would be against it, especially the Duchess would not tolerate such a thing, but the gentleman said that only her approval was important to him. Although marriage contracts are an alliance between families the Middle Ages have long ended, now she is not going to marry against her will because he needs Euphemia. These words were sweeter than honey, so sweet that it seemed she would melt right now. However, feelings cannot last forever. Just as it is joyful now, it will also become sad. So she asked the Duke not to disgrace her even more. So he said that he understood everything is published. Cassius asked her if she would be happy if he did so, and perhaps she would then feel free. He asked her to speak, but not that she asked, but rather forced her to speak. He assumed that she would try if he did so. The girl said that she simply had to go because the Duchess was waiting for her and turned away from him. She is shaking all over. She does not want to feel lonely, but at the same time, she is scared of the desire to find love. His love, her acceptance of his love, perhaps they will ultimately lead to her unhappiness. He won't give her peace, so she's not sure if she can love him. The girl doesn't know if she should subject him to such a thorny path. Maybe he really is that sincere. But she is not sure if he can bear this pain and if he can promise her eternity. A few days later, a gentleman's club. Soon it will be that very day, Euphemia's birthday, and the day when everything will be decided. Cassius can't believe that you will find the document signed by Euphemia before she arrived in the duchy so useful. If he still can't win Euphemia's heart, then that's where it all ends. He would have to admit that the door to Euphemia's heart had closed forever. Of course, if he can just humbly let go, but he doesn't know yet what the most important birthday gift should be. Maximilian said he would open the entire forest for a hunting festival. He had an audience with him before coming here. It's quite delightful. Thanks to the Emperor's good mood, the hunting grounds intended only for the Imperial family will be open to them as well, and this hunting festival will be much larger in scale. In that case, they should thank His Highness the Crown Prince. He also said that he would present an award to the winner. He plays for high stakes, a true leader of the empire. So much honor that everyone will be simply delighted. This hunting festival will be incredibly intense. By the way, Cassius decided to ask what reward Maximilian had prepared. Alley Summer Festival, the largest festival held at the end of the institutional social period. It is the time of the beginning of autumn and hunting season. People praise the greatness of the Imperial family and enjoy various festivals. The most magnificent and unusual entertainments were always prepared in the Imperial Palace. Among them, the most striking event was the hunting festival, at least nothing festival Imperial hunting grounds. It must be tiring being so attractive. The Marquis noticed that everyone was looking at him. Arno was making fun of them, saying that all eyes were on him, but the Marquis said that he should stop. The ladies were already laughing. Today they are, as always, at their best. It is difficult to take your eyes off the project when the four of them are together. They are of high birth, beautiful appearance, and also have a close relationship with the Crown Prince. This man looks incredible today, and he is so striking that it is clear that he is a true aristocrat. Cassius thought that Euphemia would come with her mother to the festival, so he bought a new hunting suit, but they did not come. He was sorry that he had no one to shine in front of today, but he was still going to take the victory of this festival. Arno noticed that his spirit was strong. The Marquis asked him if he knew that everyone was betting on who would win, Ralph or Cassius. Ralph asked him if he was going to bet too. Of course he put 1,000 gelt on Ralph and asked if he knew why he did it. All because of this, Cassius is now blinded by the reward. And when a person deliberately strives for something more often than not, he fails. Then came laughter. The Marquis added that he was talking about the woman who came with Cassius's mother to the ball. He said that she sat in the Duchess and came from a noble family, so the guys asked him to introduce them next time. The gentleman remarked that he wanted to introduce them to each other because soon he would actually introduce them. He said this with a smile on his face. The Marquis was shocked that he said he would introduce him to this girl and did not understand why and why. The opening is soon, so Arno is going to start his speech. It is time for them to go. The Crown Prince began his speech by saying that he was incredibly grateful that so many people had gathered here with a sense of honor and responsibility, as they all knew that Huang Sung was born this year. To mark the occasion, the entire Eveslawn Imperial Hunting Grounds forest will be open to the public at today's hunting festival, and a special gift will be presented to the festival winner. So glad that Maximilian will present this item of the highest luxury kept in the Imperial treasury. The winner will be the one who demonstrates the most outstanding hunting skills, and the winner will be given the opportunity to personally choose the prize. On the eve of the festival, Cassius visited the exhibition in the Imperial Palace and personally inspected everything, his goal being the diadem with the pink diamond. The pink diamond is like her eyes. There is nothing more beautiful to give Euphemia. No one will ever be able to beat it. The hot summer was coming to an end, so the Crown Prince wanted to greet it with a very hunting festival, and after that he announced the opening of the festival. The gentleman decided that he would definitely win and get this tiara for his beloved. Meanwhile, the lady was cleaning the room.